areas just north of Providence High School, eventually Matthews, Mint Hill area. So this is 51, you know, going east towards 16 there as you go towards the Arboretum. So just north of there, that's the circulation. Now, a lot of people there, we're also waiting to see if we get some ground truth. I got a lot of spotters in that area. Don't go outside, just stay inside. Trust me, I'm gonna go with that. These are probably gonna be producing tornadoes today. We don't need to see ground truth. We've had enough of that already today to take these storms seriously as they push off to the east. So this line is pushing through areas of southern Mecklenburg County. And Larry, thank you for zooming in. So you can see the town. Look at all the roads in there. This tells you how many people live in this area. And again, I know not everybody is watching us, but you probably know somebody that lives in this area. Text them, tweet them, DM them, do whatever you have to. Call them, say, hey, do you know there's a tornado warning for your area? Please seek shelter. If they don't know what to do, tell them to get in the bathroom, lowest floor, closet, pantry. If they got a hallway, get the helmets for the kids and tell them to get the TV or the app cranked up and just sit in there and listen, and we'll give you the all clear. We can actually see the Arboretum off to the southeast. Now, the reason we're taking these storms so seriously today, Larry, is we've had reports of damage and actually confirmed tornado touchdowns. One of those locations was in 321 in South Gaston County, which actually blew a truck over. And our Chloe Leschner is over there right now. And Chloe, that is a truck that was blown over by that possible tornado.
Yeah, take a look at it right here behind me, Brad. It is a U.S. mail truck. Luckily, I am told the driver's still here on scene. He is okay, only has minor injuries. But look at, really, I mean, this is just amazing to see. They had to take the windshield out here to get the driver out safely. And you can see inside, I mean, it landed right on the driver's side. So really scary moments. They say it was that powerful wind that blew it over here. We're on 321. And if we walk around this way so that we can see safely, if there are no cars coming, yeah, they're just kind of doing some cleanup now. And what I think is really crazy to see over in this parking lot, if we can get a good shot of it, you can see the flooding that's happening here. You know, the water reaching up to halfway up some of these tires here. But again, we are here on 321. The driver of this mail truck only has minor injuries after the winds blew it over here. Guys.
Chloe, let me ask you something. You're on 321. Are you near Gaston County, the downtown area? Is that how close you are? Near 85 and 321?
We're in South Gastonia right now.
Okay,
probably about
just south of there.
Probably about 5-7 miles away.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Thank you, Chloe Reston there. You can see that a truck that weighs, you know, thousands of pounds flipped over. It's those high-profile vehicles that get caught up in these storms flipped over like that. Luckily, the guy is not seriously injured in that one.
Yeah, so we've got this tornado warning here for southern Mecklenburg County. And what I was doing real quick, Larry, and I'll be a little selfish here. I actually pulled up the camera from my roof behind me. It's actually been blown off my roof. It's actually tilted down the side, and we're getting some really strong wind gusts. So my house is in South Charlotte right there where that storm is moving through. This normally has a great view of the western sky, but the wind was strong enough to blow it off the roof. And I'm gonna let it refresh here. I'm gonna keep watching those trees to see how much they're blowing. And now this is almost, I can tell the way it's fallen. Mm-hmm. It's almost due north because I can see my chimney there. The chimney faces due north.
Now that's South Mecklenburg?
Yeah, right around South Meck High School.
Right.
So we're very close to that area where the tornado warning is, and I'll show you that on radar. I went to look that real quickly. I'm not going to lie to you. I was selfishly checking out to see if my family is okay in that area because looking at the radar, I could see how serious this circulation is. And Larry, that's just west of Matthews, so that's getting close to your hometown there.
Absolutely. So folks who live in Matthews, right there along Highway 51, over towards 51 and Monroe Road, over towards Trade Street, downtown Matthews, take shelter. It's really just to the west of you and tracking off, moving about 35 to 45 miles per hour. Take shelter now. Don't go outside. If you got somewhere to travel, please stay inside. Go inside where the building where you are, the lowest floor, away from windows, a lot of walls around you. If you have a basement, go there. Better safe than sorry. Stay inside. And once again, a lot of folks at this time are concerned about schools. Schools are prepared for this. They rehearse these tornado drills. The kids know exactly where to go. We'll put a track on this, and you can see downtown Matthews at about 12:27. That's in the next couple of minutes. Hoods Crossroads right there at 51 in Idlewild at about 12:29. Lake Park community there in Union County at about 12:32 or 12:40 around Unionville. That's the timeline. Pretty fast moving storms. storm system.
So let me zoom in again on this, and I'm going to go over the key wall area. And what I was showing you earlier about noticing, excuse me, where that rotation is, it's actually gotten stronger. So when we see this starting to cup or curve in a little bit, that's always a concern. So right around Matthews, thank you guys, you could see this is the winds coming out of the radar. They're not only are they coming away from the radar, they're starting to wrap around, and the winds towards the radar wrap around. So we're actually starting to detect the circulation even tighter. This is 51 right here heading towards Matthews. So not too far from New City Church right there, just east of the Arboretum, pushing east towards Matthews, you know, the Costco right there, heading towards Independence as you go over there, towards the Elevation campus over there off of Independence. That is heading in that direction. So right there on 74, the southern part of Independence, I just got a tweet from someone. They said Independence is a mess. That means there's a lot of traffic on there. That's not what we want to hear, because this is heading towards a lot of cars stuck in traffic. We want people to stay at home. Please, if you can, I know you want to go pick your kids up or you want to go do something. They're going to be okay. They'll be fine at school. Let them stay there. You stay where you are. Being out on the roads and out and about is the last place you want to be. We want shelter for everybody. Once the storms pass, we'll give you an all clear, and you can go about and go grab anything you needed to do earlier in the day. Again, this rotation is very strong around the Matthews. There's an updated track, so it looks like it's spinning. Oh, Larry, right there. Let's zoom in north of Matthews. Right there, that is a really tight circulation. That's 51. That's right there, not too far from the first watch, heading east towards the Costco, and then heading over there towards 74 on Independence. So that area in particular, Larry, really big area there, right there around Places Avenue, Cameron Village Drive, over there to the east of North Trade Street, which is in Matthews.
Big population area right there. And folks, if you are in that area, please take shelter immediately. Is there a question you have?
Yeah, we're even getting reports online. Hail now on Central in Plaza Midwood.
That's very interesting, because up until now, within these storms, that's the first hail report that we've had. There's obviously a lot of cloud ground lightning, but yes, quite often in severe thunderstorms and tornadoes, we get hail. That can be an indication of a severe thunderstorm, and that's probably what that is right there.
Yeah, I would, the hail, it's probably not going to cause damage, but the fact that we're seeing hail tells me this storm is getting really tall, and as Larry mentioned, that's making this storm more severe.
Something that I just got a report of, that students in Union County are seeking shelter right now in some of those schools. I know that we have some contacts here. We have some contacts here that know teachers in Union County, and they're telling their students to get on the ground right now.
They practice this. They know what to do. So if you're a parent, don't be concerned, because they're going to be okay. Savannah Levins is Interstate 77. How is it where you are, Savannah? You're moving along right there.
Yeah, I think we're headed into the thick of it, Larry. You're seeing definitely this deluge of rain. If you can see on the highway here, lots of debris there as well. You're seeing strong winds, these trees really swaying in the wind. We were in Uptown not long ago, and really everyone on the loop was stopped with their hazards on because the rain was coming down so hard. You're seeing right now 77 South, a lot of people with their flashers on as well, driving definitely slowly. We don't want to see this many cars on the road, frankly, but it looks like people hopefully headed home to take shelter, because we're headed right now right towards the Matthews area, where we're seeing the worst of things right now. Quick note, if you guys see power outages on the lights, treat it as a four-way stop. We've seen a bit of that. I also want to say in Uptown, we saw a lot of construction, right? We're seeing a lot of construction in Uptown. A lot of those construction materials blown away. And Larry and Brad, a question for you guys that I'm getting. People are asking, when should they be concerned about all the cranes and things like that we have in Uptown? That's definitely a concern for a lot of people who are hunkering down in Uptown with this storm moving closer, wondering when should we, if we should worry about that kind of thing with these strong.
Luckily, at the moment, there aren't that many cranes in Uptown, but yeah, it is a concern, because we've seen situations in other cities with these high winds affecting the cranes there. Hopefully, maybe there are less cranes and we don't have a major worry about that.
Well, the one way they prevent the cranes from causing an issue is they actually make the crane become a wind vane. If you release the locks and let it spin, it will point into the wind and it won't topple over. When you get into problems is when it's locked down and the wind pushes forces on it.
Maybe we can pull, if we guys with the view camera, we can pull back a little bit. Maybe we can see there are a couple cranes off to the right there.
If they're all facing the same direction,
yeah, they are,
you
exactly.
probably know they're okay because
Yeah.
they're all pointing into the wind. That's the way a wind vane
Very
works.
good question right there. Thank you, Savannah Levin. So Interstate 77 heading southbound, headed down there towards the Pineville area, and when obviously we saw the heavy rain. One thing about what she was talking about on the interstates is there are a lot of people probably traveling through that didn't know about this, but if you live here, be aware this is not a time to travel. Let's stay in place. If you got plans, wherever you go to the appointment, they're going to forgive you because we're talking about saving lives today.
Yeah, and this is where you can help us out. There's a lot of people, there's probably a lot more people watching us online right now than watching us on air. It really doesn't matter where you're watching us, YouTube, Periscope, Facebook, Twitter, on our air, on cable. If you know people in this area, use the power of your friends and your network to get this information out, because you can easily pick up your phone and text them or call them and say, hey, I know you probably weren't watching TV, you were at work or whatever. Let them know what is going on, because you can amplify this message and get it out to people so that everybody stays in that shelter location. We will give you an all clear. I will track the backside of this when the severe weather threat is done. It is not done right now, so we want you to stay in place until we give you that all clear.
Yeah, we got several more hours of these intense storms, and obviously we've had power outage reports out of Catawba County, about 151 there, Gaston County 922. But you can see that line, that strong storm tracking into Matthews and Mint Hill, and I wouldn't be surprised right now. You folks are getting some very heavy rain, could be falling at the rate of maybe an inch an hour. In addition to that, you're getting some very gusty winds. So there's the area we're talking about. It's confined really, as you can see as we zoom in. That confined right there into that southern corner, Mecklenburg County, Mint Hill, and Matthews. That's in effect until 12:45 today, and that would include you folks along Highway 51. If you're along the Idlewild Road, Albemarle Road, over towards Lawyers Road. Obviously, 485 is another concern. People traveling there, please don't leave. If you're at home right now, if you're at a business, stay there. We'll give you the all clear. But that tornado warning is in effect right now. Goes up until about 12:45. Our time is 12:34. That's about another 11, 12 minutes before it moves out and gone. It's a pretty fast-moving system.
Yeah, Larry, I just got a text from my wife. In our neighborhood, there's some pretty extensive damage, it looks like. We moved from within our neighborhood, and the person who bought our home sent us a picture. There were 4 trees down in their backyard. On the back of their house.
Where you live now?
Yeah, so 2 blocks away, and she said it's pretty bad. There's a lot of trees down over in that area, and that was right there around South Meck High School when that storm passed through. That same cell now is moving into northern Union County, Hemby Bridge, and Unionville, home of the famous barbecue there, pushing north of there towards 601, heading towards New Salem, and then you look north, Larry, it looks like another spin up near areas around Brief. And
Brief Road area there.
in Midland and up in that area.
A lot of cloud ground lightning, so there could be some hail within that storm.
Look at the winds in there. I mean, let's real quickly, I'm going to take our wind value. Can you guys pop that up full, possibly? Just to show you the winds. We're getting 60 to 70 mile an hour winds. Now, most of that is straight line wind damage, but it's not going to take a whole lot.
It doesn't take a tornado to do this kind of damage. You can have within, it could be a severe thunderstorm. That would be a straight line wind that could be anywhere from about 55 to 75 miles per hour. So we have tornado warnings, we've had severe thunderstorm warnings, and in addition to this, we have very, very heavy rain. Our newest warning, this is for Cabarrus County. Yeah, Southeast Cabarrus County. That's until 1 o'clock today. That's our newest warning. Another warning for Cabarrus County. You folks over there around the Georgeville area, just to the south of Concord. We talked about Kannapolis having the tornado go right over it, Concord having that. So you folks that live there in the southern part of Cabarrus County, be very careful. Right now it's time to take shelter. Rachel?
Yeah, I mentioned just a few minutes ago that in Union County, I did get word that students there were asked to line the walls and get on their knees and cover their heads to seek shelter as well. Within the last 15 minutes, we've been updating you what the conditions have been at the airport. Now we do know that flights remain grounded. The FAA getting back on the tower there. We did get reports of hail. This picture was tweeted at Brad showing some brief hail in the Belmont neighborhood area. And I believe Ben pointed out a minute ago in Plaza Midwood, some hail reported there as well. So definitely interesting to to start seeing these different weather elements too. Kevin saying that they are currently sheltering in the hallways at the South Park Mall right now too, at the South Park Mall seeking shelter. This is a video from Uptown. You can barely see out of the windows because that low visibility, how heavy the rain was and the wind as well. From one of our reporters, Tanya Mendes, over on Interstate 77 in Gilead, up there just north of the Charlotte area, how heavy that rain is. So make sure, because of the ponding, the low visibility, if anybody or if you know anybody that's out driving around, that they're doing so safely. Look at this downed tree. This is obviously something that we are very concerned about with the saturation of the ground. Alex Shabad tweeting this for us, one of our reporters from Kannapolis too. I know we've got team coverage all across the Charlotte viewing area, and I believe we're going to go to Chloe Leshner now. You were in Gaston County and Gastonia. Let us know what you're seeing behind you.
Yeah, Rachel, we are on 321 where this mail truck blew over. Those winds so strong they managed to blow over this 1,000-pound truck. And take a look at some of the damage. You can see some of the dents here on the top of the truck, a sign of just how strong those winds are and how dangerous they were. Again, that driver, though, only suffered minor injuries. So now the tow truck has just pulled up here in the last few minutes, and they are working on kind of putting the chains and getting ready to kind of flip this truck back over and safely get it out of here. But just a sign of how strong this storm was when it moved through Gaston County. Again, luckily that driver is okay, guys.
Thank you very much. Let's take a look once again at the area. The tornado warnings we have in effect right here. It's a small area. It includes all the way up towards areas around Georgeville, towards Midland, just north of Unionville. That's the area that we're talking about, the tornado warning in effect. And the newest warning is in effect for Union County. That's until 12:45, Union County, North Carolina. But then our latest one is for Cabarrus County, and that is really from Georgeville all the way down to Midland. So you folks that live in that area along Highway 27 in that area, be aware that that's the latest warning that we have. We'll show you the radar picture. You can see that line of strong thunderstorms tracking across the area. Strong and severe thunderstorms. Doesn't take a tornado. We've had reports of damage. Some of those, Brad's neighborhood, got some reports of some folks over there with some trees down in that part of South Charlotte near South Meck High School.
Yeah, we've got extensive damage in our neighborhood. I was checking my weather station on the roof since I lost the camera. I had at least a wind gust on two of my anemometers over 50 miles an hour on the roof of my home. So we had an abrupt change. The wind was out of the south, and then the wind shifted to the northeast, the east, and then the southwest.
That's
so
not a
when
good
I
sign.
see that, that's the circulation.
Right.
That happened in a matter of 5 minutes as that storm moved over my home. So we probably had something dancing through that area as it pushed to the east. Now, the reason we're telling you that is people downstream of this in parts of Union County, all the students in the northern part of the county are in their shelter location covering their heads. Northern Stanley County, in Anson County, and most of, I would say, probably Richmond County eventually we're going to have to seek shelter as well because of the strong winds associated with this. Most of the damage I'm seeing, Larry, tree damage, a lot of big trees. Right. And I'm talking, the pictures from my old house, these trees, I lived there a long time, those trees never came down in ice storms or anything. They're all just flattened. Yeah, we have a lot. That's the problem. We talked about trees going down within these storms, and obviously you guys have some new video.
Yeah, stand by real quick because you guys were talking about Kannapolis earlier and how there was a confirmed tornado there. We want to get to some video specifically referring to that. Alex Shabbat, a reporter, just in this video from Kannapolis, said you can see damage to the roof of this house there. Now, the city of Kannapolis saying that they have had a tornado touchdown near Lane Street and I-85, that exit right there.
Actually, we're talking about that as it was happening, the track there, but that is terrible damage of that house right there in pretty close to downtown Kannapolis, right?
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago, too, that Alex also tweeted a picture of a massive tree, talking about trees down, a massive tree that was down in Kannapolis. I know I tweeted at 11:44 that tornado on the ground in Kannapolis. So that is definitely some heavy damage to the roof of that pretty substantial home there in Kannapolis. So as soon as we can get live out to Alex Shabbat, we definitely will to get an update to make sure everybody's okay.
We should say there are technical issues. There's lightning in the area, which makes it dangerous for him to file a live report. So we're going to get to him just as soon as we know it's safe, which folks at home, please know that when we can, we are making sure our crews out in the field are staying safe, bringing you the important news you need to know and the pictures you need to know about to keep your family safe, while also keeping our WCNC Charlotte family safe as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, the South Park Mall, they all were seeking shelter. Tons of schools have their kids in shelter right now. So what points are you looking at on your screen here?
Yeah, so our newest warning now is for Stanley County. That includes Albemarle. That's till 1:15. That new warning is for the same cell. This has had a history. So one of the things Larry and I look at as meteorologists is when we see something form, but if we have a history of a storm producing damage to the west, you need to take this storm even more seriously. And every one of these storms has produced some type of damage to the west, Larry. And so in Albemarle, we want you to seek shelter. No questions asked. If you're under a severe thunderstorm warning or a tornado warning, treat them all like tornado warnings today, because that's the type of damage and threat we have, Larry.
Yeah, we have that in effect. That's for you folks in Stanley County. That would include New London. It would include the downtown area of Albemarle, all the way in that little click area there called Big Lick. That's a little sign there, but if you've ever been down Albemarle Road, you pass through it, you can see some of the communities involved in this. Over towards Lake Baden, the town of Baden, over towards Plyler, over towards areas on Paul's Crossroads, and obviously downtown Albemarle. Some big concern because we've seen Concord with a tornado. We've had Kannapolis, downtown Charlotte had that. So it can happen just about anywhere. We have yet the other very small area there in Cabarrus County. That's until 1 o'clock this afternoon. And in Union County until 12:45. And our very latest warning, the latest tornado warning, is for Stanley County. And that's until 1:15 this afternoon. That would include we talked about Meisenheimer about an hour ago. That's barely within that, but it's certainly within the tornado warning area.
Yeah, and this line, I mean, we get caught up in the specific tornado warnings, but I would be worried anywhere along the line, Larry, because we've had these enhanced wind events. Basically, along the line, we've had 60 to 70 mile-an-hour winds. And if you think about what's happened in between some of these lines, is that we've had enhancement of that wind, a quick spin up. The only way I can really explain how these things work is basically a fast-moving creek or stream. And if you've seen like the stream go around a rock and you see that whirlpool form around the backside of it, that's what happens when these lines get all kind of squiggly like this. You get these quick little whirlpools, and that's where you can get a rapid current kind of picking up speed. So that is the main concern with this first line, Larry. But as the rain continues to pile up, flooding is going to be a concern, and we're probably going to see even more trees come down once the line moves through, because the ground is getting completely saturated, and then we're going to see even 30 mile-an-hour wind take down trees and power lines.
Take a look at this line. You know, this is not ending. This is flowing, coming out of the southwest, coming out of the Gulf of Mexico. You can see some very, very heavy rain. All of that heavy rain, cloud ground lightning. You can see severe thunderstorm warnings that extend all the way from South Carolina into Georgia, Alabama, and the panhandle of Florida. So this is not over yet. Apparently, we have a report now on a sinkhole. Let's get the latest on that and check into the situation there. What is the latest on that?
Hey, Larry. So we are in Catawba County in Hickory. The apartment's at 12th Avenue Southeast. Right here around this muddy area, this is really where we've had reports of a small sinkhole as well as localized flooding. Catawba County has actually evacuated a lot of the people at this apartment complex and have taken them to a temporary shelter at CVCC. Now, something else interesting, Lucas, let me ask you 1 second. Right over here, where this flooding is, right over here, this road right here, this was actually the area of another sinkhole from a few months ago. This is an area that we have seen constantly in terms of flooding. The road actually right here collapsed, and now all of a sudden we're having all of this new rain and new muddy conditions. They're asking anyone who lives at these apartment complex off 12th Avenue Southeast to get to the temporary shelter at CVCC and to be sure to bring medications and important items of identification that you may need. Guys, back to you at the studio.
All right, Brandon Golden, reporter live there from a sinkhole. If that gives you any indication about the sort of breadth of this storm, we were talking sinkholes, we're talking hail on Central Avenue in East Charlotte. We're talking about heavy winds, we're talking about trees down. There's so much out there. We also have some video, I think, from NODA, if folks in the control room can pull that up for us. It's minor flooding coming out of NODA. and the roads there. Let's go to that. You can see just basically pulling up there on 36th Street. You know 36th Street, it's what goes through the heart of that neighborhood. And that gives you some indication of what folks are seeing there. A little bit of everything out there. Larry?
Yeah, unfortunately, we've not talked as much about the flood threat, but there it is. That's an example of the situation because we've had flash flood warnings in effect. We've been talking more about the tornadoes, so it's all that combined. I cannot remember a situation where we had all this happen at one time, one major storm system.
Yeah, and so much confirmed damage. A lot of times we see something on the radar and we think, okay, something's spinning up there. We had confirmed touchdowns based on radar data and then the real life data that we're getting from people. That's why the spotters are so important. A lot of the trained spotters who have been out there reporting this information, and thank you to everybody sending us in. Emergency managers, first responders, they've been on the ball with this all day long, getting people ready for this. And this threat is not going to diminish as we go through the evening, Larry.
No.
We might see the tornado threat diminish in the next couple of hours and the wind threat a little bit, but the trees and the flooding threat is going to continue well into tonight because the water will continue to rise and we're going to see strong winds even outside of thunderstorms, which could bring additional trees down. So don't let your guard down even after this first wave and even second wave have moved through.
I mean, you can see the extent of this really from the Gulf of Mexico all the way in, that's the panhandle of Florida, all the way into Alabama, into Georgia, and every one of those yellow boxes, that is a severe thunderstorm warning. Where you see the kind of magenta color, that's tornado warnings. All along this, we have the heavy rain. In addition to that, we have the cloud to ground lightning as well, and that's going to be a major issue. So we have the heavy flooding rains, we're going to get the gusty winds, the trees are going to be going down. We've already had reports all over the Charlotte Metro of some of these older trees, soil is loosened, it takes doesn't take that much wind to take a tree down, and that's going to happen continually throughout the afternoon.
Yeah, and the concern obviously with this leading edge is still going to be the possible tornado threat. The good news I can tell you is we're down to one tornado warning, which has been a while, maybe since that first warning this morning. Let me go quickly and show you the Doppler velocities here. I'm going to turn the lightning off. The lightning is something I keep an eye on, but it's really not important here. It's not going to cause danger. It tells us that this storm is strong. We already know that. But let me track this line, Larry, because through central Stanley County, we're going to see damaging winds and a possible tornado. So folks in Albemarle especially, please seek shelter. That line of wind is at least 60 or 70 miles an hour. That doesn't even include maybe a spin-up tornado in there.
So once again, downtown Albemarle, you folks there, take shelter immediately. A lot of homes surround downtown Albemarle. If you're in those homes, go to the lowest floor and take shelter immediately.
Larry, we were tracking that tornado over Kannapolis, confirmed touchdown. We're getting more pictures now from the ground. Our Alex Shabbat is out there live in Cabarrus County. I think right there on the Rowan County line where Kannapolis is. And Alex, what are you seeing out there?
Hey, Brad, yeah, there is damage as far as the eye can see from where I'm standing right now on Old Salisbury Concord Road. Take a look just right behind me. It starts here, fairly large tree that had just snapped, and then the home right next to it. If you follow me over this way, you can see the shingles on top. Those are damaged as well. That's what we're seeing up and down this whole block. If you want to walk this way as it's raining here, you can see shingles on top of this house have been torn down. Beside the house, there's some smaller trees that are down. And if you keep walking, my photographer Kevin's going to keep walking over here with me and the front of this house as well, because there's some shattered glass at the front of this house right above one of the windows here. So on the roof, you can see more shingles down. You can just imagine as it swept through here, tearing down all these shingles, and then shattered glass here at the front of the house. And even the next house after this one also has a lot of damage. There's shingles, part of the house ripped down, part of the side of the house is ripped down over there. And so, half a mile from here, we got some video at Mount Mitchell United Methodist Church. That video shows a larger tree that has been ripped down, and that was on the side of the church. Didn't appear immediately that there was any significant damage to the church. That church also had its playground picked up, according to the pastor, and tossed into a wooded area. Said the playground was completely destroyed. Obviously, we got here pretty recently. We've been here about 20 minutes. So far, we haven't encountered anyone that's been injured. We have seen ambulances, crews going in different directions, heading that way. So we're hoping that no one's been injured. We haven't heard any reports as we've been here in the last 20 minutes of injuries, but of course this is still new and we're following the latest developments. We'll bring that to you as we find out more. I'll send it back to you for now, Rachel.
All right, you guys stay safe out there. You can see just how flooded the grass is, even the debris that was sitting on top of the branches of that tree and that window knocked out in the home. I'm glad to hear hopefully everybody's okay there. Look at this devastating flooding. This is just west of the Asheville area, actually. Massive flooding there, how strong that is. Hopefully the guy that's in that car or the female is okay because they were pretty close to that flooding. This is in the backyard of Park Road. This was tweeted at Brad, right behind Carolina Place Mall. Little Creek going to McMullen Greenway. You can see the flooding there in the backyard. Thank you for that video. And then this now from northern Iredell County. Do not drive through something like that. Do not enjoy seeing the video of them doing that. Didn't know that they actually drove through that. That's pretty major flooding over the street. Also this, we showed you just a second ago out of the Noda area, some minor flooding there on the side. This video, Brad tweeted of his backyard. He was talking about how the winds shifted the directions there. That's a lot of damage, Brad. That is of my old house, he said, 2 blocks away from where his new house is. Quite a bit of damage to that location as well. Are you concerned at all seeing that?
Yeah, my wife is texting me right now. She asked if she could leave, and she started driving. She texted me right back and said it's pretty bad. She's going to try to send me some stuff, but that report just came in. The Weather Service now confirmed tornado in that area right around my neighborhood when we were tracking that, so we kind of knew that was the area we were watching. Hopefully it's just tree damage. We're really worried about structures. The good news is if you were inside, it looks like even where we saw Alex in Kannapolis,
they looked okay.
Roof shingles, stuff.
Yeah.
That's what we want to break.
Yes.
We don't want you to break. So that's why we put those walls between you and the outside. I always tell people it's like NASCAR. You know, NASCAR is meant to break apart, right? To keep the shell, the person safe inside. Yeah. Your house can do that to you as well in these tornadoes. We will okay if the outside walls break as long as we keep you safe in the middle. So,
a lot of reports of power outages. Matthews, a lot of reports of power outages there. Savannah Levens out and about, and some power outages where you are. What's the situation right there? Nations Ford Road, is that right? Savannah?
I don't think we have her, but I will.
We got her.
She's back.
Around here. Oh, they don't have us.
Are we okay right here? Are we okay right here?
Okay, so we're watching this live as they're communicating, because what you have to remember, our crews are out. There's trees down, power lines down, and the cell service is probably pretty sketchy in a lot of these locations because now cell towers will stay up for about 48 hours on battery backup, but if they are damaged or the lines are damaged, you will lose signal. So this is a case where, you know, we tell you to have a kit and plan. We rely a lot on technology, and these kind of situations will make you realize real quickly how much you rely on it. So you should always have a backup way or several ways to get warnings besides just your phone, weather radio on air, terrestrial radio. So we're going
hopefully everybody prepared for this. Savannah, are you there?
Yeah.
And tell us about the situation where you are.
Yep, we're Nations Ford Road right now, so we literally just drove up on this situation right here. You're seeing these power lines down. You might not be able to see it too well from our camera right here, but you see this fire truck right now. Definitely concerning. We're seeing the power outages and a lot of the traffic lights too. Can you, let's see, I don't know how much you guys can see right here, and obviously we're going to try to stay safe and listen to instructions from these first responders here, but you might be able to see that it looks like maybe a tree fell on these power lines. The other thing, if you guys see these power lines down and you see something like this before first responders get there, definitely want to stay away from that because these lines can still be hot. That means live with electricity, and that can get to you even through your car, you guys. So definitely want to be careful of that. And this is exactly, you know, the #1 reason why we don't want people driving around right now. So we are going to heed the warnings from these firefighters here right now who are closing the road down and check in with them, and then we'll get back with you guys here in a minute.
Thank you. Savannah Levens right there off Nations Ford Road. That scene right there is so typical of what we're hearing reports of. 30,000 people without power in the area right now. That went from several hundred to 30,000, and that will probably be added to. There's going to be more and more power outages. A lot of damage in South Charlotte.
Yeah, a lot. I just got video from my backyard. Kind of overwhelming the amount of trees I just lost in my backyard. I'm thankful the house seems to be okay, but I probably lost about 10 to 15 large trees.
Is anyone home now?
My wife was home, and I just tell everybody we were thinking the same thing. I told her to stay there, and the kids stayed at school.
Good.
I'm so glad that a lot of people did that. It was better they were there and not at home.
Yes.
And that's what happens. Sometimes people, you know, when they're at school, you want to go pick your kids and bring them up. You don't always know if you're taking them into a more dangerous situation.
I mean, you saw the
than where
power
they were
lines
at.
down. You're driving out there. It's a dangerous time to be out. And we once again remind you, if you have travel plans, please avoid those now. Where you're going, the people you're supposed to see, the appointment you have, they're going to understand, because this is a severe weather situation with tornado warnings all across the area, from over towards the areas around Stanley County up into Alamance, Chatham County. This is all now moving, tracking off to the east. Our latest tornado warning is Stanley County until 1:15. That does include downtown Albemarle.
Yeah, and I promise you guys, we'll give you the all clear. I can't give you the all clear across the Charlotte metro area, because if you look to our southwest, this line is not really moving very quickly, Larry, and there's like what we call back building, which is storms building on the backside. So if we look down into York, Chester, Union County, South Carolina, and the upstate, there's more storms building down there. And if we go even further south, there's more tornado warnings down in northeast Georgia.
It's unbelievable how these have just, it's like a train effect. We talk about training rain, training storms, and these tornadoes in Georgia have started much earlier today, started very early this morning. They have not let up, and they're almost following a beeline from Georgia, the Atlanta area, all the way into South Carolina, eventually right into our area. So the tornado threat definitely is not over. It's a very unstable environment. In addition, there's a lot of rainfall, so we've seen flooding. We have seen a lot of flash flood warnings. They will continue, and those typical creeks, little streams, they are going to flood over. Some of those backyards, little streams run through the backyards. Every one of those that we always do stories on, count on those overflowing this afternoon. It's not going to end until probably late tonight or very early on your Friday morning.
Yeah, and it's going to be a while, because even after the worst of the weather moves through, we're going to be driving around and looking at the damage reports of trees down. This is what's going to be problematic, getting around because of trees on the roadways.
Yes.
And then we throw in the flooding threat, Larry.
Right.
It's going to make travel incredibly difficult this evening, even after the worst moves out. And we've got down power lines. So what we need you to do is stay at home, because we need crews to get out and clean this up. They need to get to these locations. And if there's too many people on the roads, we will have some issues. So again, the only tornado warning, and I say only, it's still bad. We've got that tornado warning for Stanley County and severe thunderstorm warnings for Anson, Richmond, and Stanley County. This whole line, now Union County, this thing is still moving your way. There could easily be a quick spin up within this line as it moves into Union County. And then looking back to the southwest, we've got more storms building, and these, unfortunately, Larry, are moving due north, northeast more than east. So we might see another wave of rain. I really think the worst of this is going to last well into the evening hours.
Because that's a big frontal boundary that's got to move across the area. So you have the front moving from west to east, the storms moving from southwest to northeast. So it's a line of strong and severe thunderstorms, some tornadoes, and we also have a lot of flood warnings out there. I've never seen this many different variations of warnings at one time. It's been a lot. I can't remember this ever happening where we've had this much severe weather covering such a wide geographical area, all the way from the Gulf of Mexico into Alabama, Georgia, right into North and South Carolina. Eventually, that's going to head right up the East Coast into Virginia and up the eastern seaboard. So travel today, all the interstates, Interstate 77 north or southbound, Interstate 85 north and southbound, Highway 49, any major highway, stay off if you can right now. Ben?
All right, Larry, thank you, sir. For folks at home joining us now at the top of the hour, it is 1 o'clock here in the Charlotte area. If you're watching us on our channel, on WCNC Charlotte, perhaps online, WCNC.com, or on Facebook, we are following a breaking situation unfolding over the course of the last few hours. And according to our meteorologist, will be unfolding throughout much of the afternoon into the evening. We've seen just about every possible weather condition over the last couple of hours. We've seen flash flooding. We have seen high winds. We have seen confirmed tornadoes, multiple tornadoes at that. We have even seen sinkholes and reports of even hail in parts of East Charlotte. A lot going on. Our crews are spread out across the greater Charlotte area right now, trying to gather as much information, as much video, as safely as they can do it right now. Again, this is expected to be a day-long situation. We've had students in local schools take shelter inside the hallways. We've had bankers in Uptown Charlotte forced to go into the stairwells of those high-rises to be safe. We've also heard about the FAA evacuating the tower over at Charlotte Douglas at one point earlier today. Again, this is an unfolding situation, and we're lucky enough to have our team of forecaster and meteorologists over in the First Northern Storm Center tracking all of this right now and letting us know what the very latest is at the top of the hour. All right, let me go ahead and bring in Larry Springle with the latest. Larry.
Yeah, the latest, and we want to talk about the tornado warning. Folks there in Stanley County, that's the Albemarle area, Stanley County until 1:15, about another 15 minutes or so, then all east of there. But you can see the line of heavy storms. That's flooding, that's high winds, severe thunderstorms, tornadoes. So it's all put together. That's why this is a dangerous situation. Stay off the highways. And I know a lot of people have concern about their kids at school. Well, the great thing about kids at school, they have been doing drills. They've been started last year, tornado drills, safety drills, and they're prepared for this. So rather than rush out in your car, take a trip somewhere being very unsafe, stay inside. This is an area that includes from Anson, Montgomery, Richmond, Stanley counties. That's a severe thunderstorm warning. You say, well, it's only a severe thunderstorm warning. Winds within a severe thunderstorm can be well over 50 miles an hour. You can have just as much damage in a severe thunderstorm. In addition to that, we have the very heavy rainfall, obviously the cloud to ground lightning. I'll kind of pull this view back here, and for a moment I'm going to take the radar off just to show you the extent of warnings across the southeast. And you can see that line of storms that literally stretch from south of Atlanta all the way into the upstate of South Carolina, into Charlotte, and all the way up to the Virginia border. That's a long line of severe weather, and it includes literally everything that we talk about this time of the year except snow. This is more of a spring-type storm, the kind you see in March, April, May, and June, but it's out there. We have to treat it as a very serious situation. So once again, if you have travel plans, if you're going anywhere west, over towards areas around Asheville, you encounter heavier rain there. Northbound or southbound along Interstate 77 or Interstate 40, very heavy rainfall there. Ben?
All right, Larry, thank you. We appreciate it. Let's get to some video that we're getting into the WCNC newsroom right now. This is video we just got from Rock Hill. Significant rain falling there. This is actually from one of our photographers, Adam Barbie. This is just right outside of his home. You can see the waves of heavy rain actually moving across the street there. The flag blowing in the wind as well. And then we got some video from a viewer. This is flooding up in Highland Creek. So we're talking about University area, Northeast Charlotte. You can see it, this person's backyard. This is a case of where probably a trickle turned into almost whitewater rapids. You see the person in the background. Hopefully they are staying safe with their dog right now. That water moving fast right now. So that's the situation there. Now, over just too far off Billy Graham, we've got video of a tree down. This is just off Billy Graham. This is actually not too far from our WCNC Charlotte studio. This is a scene we're actually seeing around our area. The trees coming down, because folks, what you have is not just the conditions right now today. You've got the conditions of the last 24 hours or so. You've got the soaked ground. It does not take too heavy a wind to knock down some of these trees out there, and that's what you see right there.
Yeah, the soil, there's so much loosened soil, and there's another picture of what Ben was talking about, loosened soil, that these trees, it's going to take just a gusty wind, they're going to go down. And this is Park Road right there. That's South Charlotte, right, and there. That's near South Meck on Park Road, and that's the scene from about, 12:15, all this kind of came through there, something like that?
So the pictures, and then I have two weather stations in my house, so I was looking at the anemometer data and the pressure data, and you could clearly tell there was a circulation passed over my house, at least.
Big pressure drop.
Pressure dropped about 30 millibars in a matter of 5 minutes. And we had the wind change from south to southeast to northeast to northwest.
It's almost classic.
Complete rotation, and the peak wind speed I had before it looks like I may have lost the weather station was about 73 miles an hour.
There you go. I mean, you can compare it to a Category 1 hurricane.
Yeah, you see those trees, you can tell. That's when you see 60, 70 mile an hour
It may be an F0 tornado, but that can do a lot of damage. It could take a lot of trees down, and you saw some of the damage in the video, the live pictures we show, some of the roofs, the shingles blown off. And what will happen after the storm, after today, probably at some point tomorrow, the National Weather Service will send teams in here to do an analysis and examine the storm damage. That's when they ascertain the wind speed. It's after the storm, after the tornado passes, they look at the damage report, the way the damage is aligned, and they factor in a numeric factor to determine whether it's an F0 up to F5. And you're looking at some of that video right there.
I'm looking at my security footage as I'm going from nothing to crazy.
I think a lot of people are going to be dealing with this post-storm cleanup, but we are not over yet. Unfortunately, there's more back to the west and southwest, a line of heavy, heavy rainfall. We're still going to be dealing with the flash flood potential for the entire area. So after the wind, unfortunately, comes the flooding. If you live near a small stream, a little creek, a small tributary, everything that's flooded in the past, it'll happen again, because this is a major storm system. Kind of reminds me of a tropical storm that comes and sits right on top of us. That's what we've seen in that kind of storm.
Yeah, so that, we're going to transition from the wind and tornado threat to that tropical type setup with heavy rain and additional trees. I think we've seen this happen quite a bit, Larry, where the rain ends, and sometimes even after the rain, trees still come down because they're so saturated, or they've been damaged or weakened by the previous wind. So if sometimes when you see these trees hanging and they're partial damage, those are the worst. You want to stay away from those trees because they could fall with little warning.
And it could be weeks after this. So if you have a situation, we have one of the older trees, a lot of Charlotte is covered in the older trees, and there's damage, I would say the sooner you can, not now, but tomorrow, get those tree experts out there to check it out, because they're going to come down. We've had so many situations where the damage, even some deaths from this situation. That's the situation we're in right now with these gusty winds, even from strong thunderstorms, and the potential for more tornadoes. Right now, we're just dealing with tornado warnings that have been canceled. The thunderstorm warnings will probably increase throughout the afternoon.
We've got one more severe thunderstorm warning, which is still in effect for a very small section of southeastern Stanley County, northern Anson County, northern Richmond County. That's till 1:30, Larry. Rachel, you have more, because what we're seeing is the increase in pictures and video coming in.
Yeah, especially hyper-local, really all across our area, from Matthews to South Park, sending us videos of what they've been seeing. And take a look at this one. So this is right when the storm first hit, according to John, in the Matthews area. And you could see that gust of wind. Oh, look. The tree coming down. He caught that right on camera because of how strong the winds are, pushing water too across the road and in front of his lawn here. This is from Park Road, just north of Johnston Road in the Ballantyne area. Look at this video. I actually know Sarah French, who just got here. Her husband was driving through that area too and reported to her that there were downed trees. Johnston Road, heavily traveled area, so that is definitely closed. That's Park Road north of Johnston Road. Numerous trees down according to that report here. Also seeing a lot of flooding video. This one sent in from the Lake Wiley area. You can take a look. It looks like they're looking out of their window. That's from Lindsay Hicks. Thanks for sending in that video. I hope you guys are staying safe. Once again, another downed tree. This is a huge issue that we're going to see all across our area. Also some flooding on that road there. This picture was sent out by the York County Sheriff's Department, and they don't list exactly what. Oh, they did say Boyd Road right in York County. So make sure you avoid that area if you live in York County. Again, we've been on the scene of this. We didn't actually see it being brought up, but this was a mail truck that was flipped on its side because of likely how strong the gusts of winds are. We have a crew down in that area in Gastonia. So now our team weather coverage continues with meteorologist Kris Mulcahy. Where are you at? I know you've been driving around in the Chevy Storm Tracker all day, Kris.
Yeah, it has been a really interesting start. Rachel, you saw that we began up in Catawba County over to Caldwell County, and there was actually a state of emergency for parts around Hickory just because of the amount of rain. Some infrastructure was damaged there. Right now we're heading eastbound on 74. Still, the rain is relentless. Now, we did hit a brief lull. It was fairly light. Now it's back to that moderate range. So whenever I say moderate, I'm going to call those the dark greens or the yellows in the radars. I love to describe it that way because that's going to be up to about a quarter inch per hour. A lot of areas had a little bit of time here on the western side of North Carolina in our WCNC viewing area to settle the water tables just a little bit, but now we're seeing it pick right back up. So it's the second hurrah. So still widespread rain. Directing your attention down to the southwest on the radar, you can still see that we are not done yet. Still another chance for storms. Seeing more tornado warnings now southeast of Athens. So more of that heavy rain is going to continue to work its way back in. And you can also see that off towards the west, we are looking at flash flood warnings. So as we mentioned, this is one of those complex systems that you still have another chance for that secondary line, but then also that steady rain as you're seeing right in front of me. Brad, Larry.
Well, be safe out there. There's a line of storms right there. It's not ending. There's more on the way. You heard Kris mention, even down in Georgia, there's more tornado warnings down there. So it's an event. It's going to be throughout the afternoon. We have severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for Montgomery, Randolph, Richmond, Stanley counties, until about 1:30. That's about 20 minutes from now. In severe thunderstorms, you can have a lot of damage. That means very gusty winds. Those trees can go down in severe thunderstorms just as well.
Yeah, we've had these really strong wind energy above our heads. Earlier in the week, I was talking about this low-level jet. About 5,000 feet above our head today, the winds are blowing at about 70 to 80 miles per hour. And what happens is these storms, which get taller than 5,000 feet, tap into that wind and bring it down to the surface. So even outside of strong thunderstorms, the heavier downpours can mix this wind down to the surface. So until that low-level jet or that powerful wind energy moves east, we're going to have the threat for damaging winds and trees. And then the flood threat is just going to continue to get worse and worse. We're seeing the worst flooding right now in the mountains and foothills because they've seen the rain last the longest, but we probably are going to start to see some flooding issues even in the Piedmont, including the Charlotte metro area, poor drainage areas. The thing I see, all these trees coming down and leaves and debris, that starts clogging up storm drains as well, and then you start getting additional street flooding because of all that.
Once again, if you, if for whatever reason you, excuse me, have to leave your house, please be careful. This, with the trees going down, the high winds and the flooding, this is really not a good time to be out. And if you can avoid any travel today for the next several hours at least, because this is going to continue throughout the afternoon into the evening. And anyone who has travel plans farther away from Charlotte, I would say it's probably safer to cancel those, because if you got heading up, maybe up towards Raleigh, Durham, heading maybe up into Richmond, Virginia, or all the way down into places like Atlanta, Georgia, the Panhandle of Florida, all of those locations, heavy rain, strong and severe thunderstorms, even tornado warnings, that whole area. This is hundreds of miles with millions of people affected by the storm.
Yeah, and the number of trees down, there's going to be a lot of work to be done here over the next couple of days. And just please be careful. If you're not comfortable out there around these trees, stay away from them. You don't know, they could still be loose limbs. The other thing is down power lines, Larry.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Sometimes the trees coming down block your view of what's on below them. It could be a down power line. It still could be electrified. So please be careful out there. And guys, this is going to be an ongoing issue even after the storms move out, because of the impassability of some of these roads, because of the number of trees down. So as we get closer to the afternoon commute, we were telling everybody, you know, stay in place. Schools stay there until this passes. Getting home is going to be incredibly difficult.
It's going to be very dangerous out there today. So, you know, I'm sure some companies may be letting their employees leave early, but that 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. time frame is going to be very rough.
Sarah, you just drove through this. What was it like?
Yeah, so coming in, I was listening and watching you guys, and then you said there's a lull in Charlotte right now, so I decided, okay, this is when I'm going to make it to the TV station. But when I got to 77, it was just a downpour. Couldn't even see in front of me. People were stopped on 77 with their flashers on.
Stop, you mean literally stopped on the
road because they couldn't see. And then I tried to stop at an overpass, and so many people were parked underneath it and in between. You just couldn't get under it. But so I called the station. Bill said, I think you should just come on in. That's the safest thing before this next round comes in.
We're glad you're here safely.
And so here I am. But my son's daycare is closing at 1. And so my husband's on the way to go get him. And he said he was on Johnston when they had to pull over because the rain was so strong. And when it finally let up, all these trees like this were down right in front of them on the road. So it's really, like you said, Brad, not a good time to be out there. And I agree with, you know, I know parents are worried, but these schools, they're doing the right thing by keeping kids inside during the afternoon until this passes, rather than...
You don't want those buses out there, the kids getting on and off buses. Very dangerous.
So what concerns you guys most going into the afternoon? It's 1:14 right now. This thing has hours left in it. So what is your biggest concern going into the afternoon and evening at this point?
My biggest concern is going to be trees still coming down, flooding, and then the impassability of some of these roads because of the trees down from earlier. So travel is going to be tough. And here's the problem: if there's a tree down and you have to reroute, there might be a flooded roadway you can't get through as well. So you're going to start having these situations where a lot of roads and even the detours are blocked off. And people are going to be stuck out in their cars. And let's hope we don't see another round of severe storms. But if you're out in your car stuck for hours, that's not where we want you to be. So I agree, Larry. I think everybody should just stay put for right now. The worst thing we could do is everybody leave at the same time,
Yeah.
which creates a
That
man-made
would be
chaos.
a horrible thing to happen. Yeah.
We've got enough Mother Nature doing a lot of things today. We don't need everybody to leave at the same time. Remember, if you've got power, if you've got supplies, if you're at your house, if you're at church, if you're at
safe.
school,
Yes.
if anywhere where you're okay, you've got structure, stay there. Going outside, you're putting yourself in danger.
All right, we've got Brandon Goldner up in Hickory, just outside of Hickory, at a sinkhole. We've told you these storms have packed a punch of everything, sinkhole being one of them. Brandon.
Who is that? Bash? Come on, Bash.
That's right. So basically, this is where the sinkhole in the area where all of this mud is, right down here along this parking lot where you see that caution tape. It was actually flooded earlier. Residents here were telling me that the water was getting so far up to where a lot of this muddy area is and where this yellow tape is. We're starting to see kids coming back from school right now, as well as some buses that have started to arrive to help with evacuating of neighbors and residents. And right now, a lot of those people who are being evacuated are being taken to CVCC for a temporary shelter. Right now, people are keeping an eye and monitoring the conditions right out here with this weather. The water has been really flowing along here. And something interesting to note, where this road right here, 12th Avenue Southeast, that was the same site back in April where that road collapsed due to a sinkhole. Residents tell me this has been an issue around here for a while with all of this rain, all of this flooding, especially a lot of the muddy conditions. Just a lot of the water right here has been incredibly muddy. We actually saw up on US 321 earlier a mudslide that happened. A lot of this rain has just produced so much mud and wet conditions. We'll send it back to you guys over at the studio.
Thank you, Brandon. Pretty amazing video.
All right, now we're going to send it out to Savannah Levin. She's in Pineville, seeing quite a bit of debris. Savannah, can you tell us where you are right now? Looks like a lot of cars are stopped where you are.
Yeah, it's Building Center in Pineville, which is where, so we were just at down power lines when we caught up with you guys maybe 10 minutes ago, and the firefighters there on scene said, you guys got to follow us to this crazy touchdown that I'll ask, Brad to confirm that, but they're saying that there was some sort of touchdown here. And look, the stop sign right in front of me was taken down. There's lots of debris around. Obviously, right now we're trying to pull around so you guys can see the damage a little better, but in this kind of industrial area of Pineville, there is debris everywhere. There's windows blown out of these buildings. So again, right now we're trying to get around some of this traffic. So hopefully we can catch up with you guys again in a minute, but lots of just kind of chaos right here. In fact, we just drove over a railroad and the railroad arm had been ripped off. It's just crazy, the damage. Let me see if I can turn this little camera here a little bit. So you're definitely seeing down trees, down power lines, that stop sign down as well. All that debris on the road there. So let's try to get a better view and check in with you guys in a few minutes.
All right, Savannah, thank you. Yeah, the best place you can go when she talks about windows being out is the center of your home, under a stairwell. And I was always told growing up in Arkansas, like, get in a bathtub or somewhere safe. Brad, what are the safest places that people can go in their homes to seek shelter?
The most interior part of your house is the best spot. But the reason we tell bathtubs, and it actually goes to the fact that the plumbing in the bathroom is anchored into the slab or the foundation of the ground. It makes that room incredibly secure. When I've done tornado surveys, you'll see the toilet and the bathtub be the only thing there because they're anchored into the sewer line. So that makes it a very strong room. And also, most bathrooms, especially half baths on the first floor, hopefully don't have windows, which makes them a safe place to go as well.
You don't have to get necessarily in the bathtub. In the bathroom, it's such a secure room, and we're getting some video right here of some of the power lines. Trees are going to be going down. Let's take a look at weather too for a moment. I just want to show you the size of the storm system and how much more is headed our way. Unfortunately, how much more heavy rain. You can see the extent of this. So this is from the Gulf of Mexico. More of that tracking across the southeast. That includes parts of Alabama right into Georgia and following directly across Alabama into Charlotte. And this is heading up the eastern seaboard. So this literally is affecting multi-millions of people and will continue to do so. It's interesting right now, Brad, the instability in the atmosphere, not quite to the extent it was, say, an hour or 2 hours ago. We haven't seen any spin-ups lately, so hopefully that issue is ramping down the potential for tornadoes. We're not seeing that those little spin-ups like we did. Not to say it couldn't happen again, but mainly right now it's the heavy rain, the drenching rain, and the gusty winds.
Yeah, we're hoping that this threat will transition out of the severe and tornado to just the rain threat, but that leaves a whole nother issue we have to deal with, because many people may have slept through a lot of the rain last night. We had an inch and a half of rain in Charlotte. When people woke up, there was a lull, and they said, "Where's the rain?" Well, it rained an inch and a half while you were sleeping.
Yes.
That saturated everything. So the rain that's falling now, which could be 2, 3, 4 inches on top of the inch of rain that fell earlier today, is going to cause widespread flooding issues as we go into the afternoon. The roads are already impassable in many locations because of debris and trees. If we start getting roads flooding out, that's going to make travel virtually impossible in a lot of locations. Another reason why you should stay put if you can. I know we want to get to our kids and get to our family. We got to do this in an orderly, safe manner, because getting around town is going to be incredibly difficult here. And we don't want you stuck out in this as well.
I know a lot of the school systems are planning on this. They're looking at this. I mean, they're realizing this, how serious this is. And so it does mean if school is out late, that's fine. Don't rush to the school right now because of how serious it really is.
What are you guys thinking is going to be the best time once this passes for parents to get out? Are you still trying to figure that out, when it's safe for people to get out to go get their kids?
The issue is the fact that we've had so much rain and some of those trees going down. So I mean, it's I think we're going to leave a lot of this information to come in from emergency management in the different counties. We're going to be getting information from them, and we'll relay that. Our reporters out there on the scene and our Severe Storms network of ham radio operators and emergency management folks out there to let us know, because it's going to be dangerous for hours. And I know that people have to get their kids home. You know, they can't stay at school forever. But in reality, if it is that serious a situation, you are much safer in place where you are, wherever that may be.
Right.
And we, like Brad was saying, we don't need everybody to leave all at one time in this situation. And once again, that rain is going to continue. It's not going to stop. And because of the amount of wind energy we have had in the area, that means there are a lot of trees that are upright at the moment, but with a little bit of wind, of saturated soil, more trees go down, more power outages.
Yeah, and to answer your question more directly, I guess, Sarah, is that I'd love to say there's going to be an exact time. I think the worst of the wind and tornado threat might be after 6 or 7, but the rain threat could continue until about midnight or 1 in the morning. So
my husband just texted me and said, you know, in South Charlotte, they're on a generator right now with no electricity. And I had some other friends saying even offices close to our building that they're losing power too. So
you're talking about in this area where we are out here? Yeah, we have a backup generator
here at the station.
I think that's going to be an issue as well throughout the day, the fact there's so many power outages.
Yeah, and the trees aren't going to stop falling once the wind calms down, because the ground is saturated, and a lot of trees were damaged by either the tornadoes or the straight line winds that came through with the storms. That could lead to additional trees coming down. Probably what we're seeing a lot of right now, there might be power outages occurring as trees come down, as Duke Power is shutting down power in certain areas to work on lines that have fallen. So they have to shut down a whole area before that happens. I think the trees are going to be an issue, maybe even into Wednesday, or into Friday, because we're likely going to have strong winds and saturated soil through the night and tomorrow. And we've seen this even on a sunny day after one of these. We'll have a tree or two still come down.
Yeah, it doesn't take much after this. You know, you go into the weekend. After that, it just takes a little light wind. And, well, I mean, that's just going to be the situation with all the rain that we've had. At the moment, we don't have any tornado warnings. We don't have any severe thunderstorm warnings at the moment. So that's the good news.
Well, Fred Shropshire joining us now. Fred, how was your drive into work?
Treacherous.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was ironically, I got a message from my daughter's teacher. You know, they keep us abreast on everything going on through these apps now. A Remind app saying that she attends school at a CMS campus, and she's in a modular unit at that school, and all day they've had the kids in the main building and sending messages back and forth to parents saying the kids are okay, the kids are fine. And right before, or actually it was right after that warning alert went out, I got the message that the kids are fine, parents don't worry, you know, they anticipated this, and I even got a message this morning saying that they were weighing whether they were going to release early. And obviously I've heard you guys talking about how dangerous it is for the kids to have been out, would have been on the roads the same time that we were trying to get here to work.
Yeah, even parents trying to go get their kids, not safe in the middle of the day. But okay, Brad is talking to Brad. You were telling us earlier how really these school buildings, parents get worried, but the structure of them are probably one of the safest places that our kids could be, right?
Yeah, and Fred, exactly what he said is right. When we have these temporary, external classrooms, they usually get the kids out of there and keep them in the main building. But in some locations, the school building might be better than your house because of the way they're built. And they have safe locations. They practice for this. They train for this. When I do school talks, that's what I do. I go out and I ask them, hey, where do you go in the school? They all kind of know. At home, I say, do you know? And oftentimes I find that home is where they don't know where to go. So that's why at school, I mean, let's be honest, how many of your parents up there have trained your kids, where in the house are you going to go in a tornado? So what I do is I empower the kids when my school talks, and I say, it's your job for the whole family to decide, where are you going to go? Go find that room. You come up with the plan and tell your siblings and your parents that's what you're going to do. Because as you saw today, these warnings come out in a matter of seconds and minutes. That's not the time for everybody to sit around and think, where am I going to go? Everybody should just know, hey, we go to this closet, this bathtub, this pantry, this hallway, and that's what we do. So hopefully a lot of people practice that today, and we don't normally have to do this in February. This is more a March, April, May setup, but we're seeing it here in February, unfortunately.
All right, Brad, thank you. Right now, Vanessa Rufus joins us live. Vanessa, flooding, a big issue across the Carolinas. North Carolina Highway Patrol is sharing a warning right now. So tell us about that.
Yeah, that's right, Sarah. We've heard it all before, many times. Turn around, don't drown. But they are hammering that point home, as we've been talking about all morning, all afternoon so far. The roads are pretty treacherous, and we are getting some videos as well from viewers and some pictures to show that. So we're going to start off here. We are getting this video here out of Gastonia. This video, we're told, is from Carson Road in Gastonia. And check this out. This is a lot of flooding that we're seeing in this particular area. And so that really just paints the picture. Look how fast moving that water is as well. And I know yesterday we were out talking with emergency management officials, and they were really driving home the point. They're hoping folks are just going to stay away from bodies of water, not go inside. Here we see this is going to be viewer video out of the NODA area coming to us from 36th Street and Wesley Avenue, 36 and Wesley. We see definitely some ponding going on there, concentrating kind of around the gutters area and even kind of gathering a flow. So you could see just how flooded and saturated the roadways are in that area. Moving on, we've got some video of flooding from Powell Street. Okay, we're told that video is not ready for us. We've got, looks like this is out of South Charlotte. Okay, so this is the video that Brad Panovich tweeted out, surveillance video. My goodness, look at that. Out of South Charlotte of this tornado taking down a tree, that tree falling in the backyard. And there you could see getting awfully close to this home. In fact, wow, look at that. Powerful winds you could see pushing that tree even farther into the porch and to the roof there of that home. And then finally, we do have some photos here. This comes to us out of Matthews, a home at Stevens Road, where you could see this trampoline has crashed up against a home. It is mangled looking, so that paints the pictures of the types of winds that we've been seeing. So to go back to the flooding and the warning that we are getting from officials, you just never really know how deep that water is if you're driving through a roadway. So just don't risk it. And it doesn't really take that much standing water to carry your vehicle away. So we're going to be gathering more of your pictures and videos and passing them along and sharing it with everyone else so we can warn folks, maybe avoid particular areas, or this is what we're seeing in this particular part of town. So we appreciate everybody sending those videos in to us. We'll send it back to you for now.
Okay, Vanessa Rufus in our newsroom. Thank you, Vanessa. We saw one of the clips that you tweeted out. That is your backyard?
That was my old house.
Your old house.
2 years ago, I moved from within my neighborhood. I only moved 2 blocks, which I love my neighborhood. But we know the homeowners that bought our old house. They're great. The Hudaks, thank you so much for sending that in. They sent me that picture and video immediately, and I was like, holy cow. I mean, I lived there for 15 years, and those trees in hurricanes, severe weather, ice storms had never come down. So when she sent me that, I was blown away. And then the pictures from my new house 2 blocks away, just as bad. I haven't seen our house yet, but we've probably lost 15 or 20 trees and most of our fence in the backyard. It looks like, based on my weather station as well, which I have on my roof, the tornado passed right over our neighborhood. We had a huge pressure drop. I'll pull the data, but to me, it's scary, but it's also fascinating to look at the signs of this, because as you saw in that video, there was wind from one direction, the trees came down, and then the wind shifted and blew the other way real quickly. I actually recorded it on my weather station. There was a dual peak. There was a lull and then another big spike in that strong wind. Now, thankfully, that tornado threat is diminished. We're starting to see these tornado-type storms move east, but we still got very strong storms to our southwest, and why we can't let our guard down. Look at the tornado warnings, which are popping up in the upstate of South Carolina. So down towards areas in Greenwood County, down towards Lincoln County, Wilkes County, which is in northeast Georgia, the Abbeville area. These are down in the upstate. And guess what direction those are generally moving? They're moving northeast at about 45 to 50 miles an hour. So folks in Chester, York County, we may not be completely out of the woods yet. Even though we're in a little bit of a lull of the severe weather, the rain threat is still going strong. So let me switch over to that velocity data, because this is what we've been monitoring all day for potential rotation within the storm. I can see down there these rotations showing up as they push to the northeast, but as I get closer to Charlotte, I just see a lot of strong winds. Nothing rotating, but I'm still seeing 50, 60 mile an hour winds, and this is why we could continue to see some trees come down this afternoon. I'm going to go back to the radar and we'll loop this, and one thing I'm going to show you is the rainfall rates. The rainfall rates have been just insane with some of these cells. You see this line. I'm going to zoom into areas just southeast of Rock Hill. The rainfall rates in there are about 2¼ to 2.5 inch and a half per hour. Remember yesterday I was telling you the flash flood guidance we look at, which is how much rain it takes in 6 hours that causes flash flooding, was only about 2.5 to 3 inches. Well, we're seeing that in a matter of an hour. So, 6 times quicker than it takes to actually cause flash flooding. We're seeing that rain fall out there. So the potential is the flooding threat is going to increase as we go through the evening. Look at the 24-hour rainfall amounts. Cleveland County, Rutherford County, Burke, Caldwell County. I feel like we haven't done justice to this, but the flash flood warnings that are all over the place for Caldwell, Burke, McDowell. That's where Brandon Goldner is. They had that sinkhole, and there's landslides and mudslides occurring in the mountains because of this heavy rain. So we've been focused on this leading edge, but the threat is going to continue throughout the evening. It may transition from severe storms to flooding, but the threats will continue well into tonight. So Fred and Sarah, a very active afternoon, and it's going to continue into an active evening.
All right, Brad, thank you.
Well, we want to show you this incredible time-lapse video from our camera atop the View building in Uptown Charlotte. This is showing the storm as it is rolling through with that big shelf cloud that you hear our meteorologist around here talking about. It's followed by a wall of rain. The powerful wind, it actually pushed down that camera.
All right, also take a look at this. WCNC Charlotte's Alex Shabbat sent us this video from Kannapolis. You can see damage to the roof of this home from the city of Kannapolis. They say we have had a tornado touch down near the Lane Street and I-85 exit. There are no injuries reported, but some minimum property damage has occurred, and power lines are down in this area as well. Please avoid this area. We do have streets that have debris and flooding, so please stay off the streets and shelter in place if possible. And of course, Brad was emphasizing that too. Even if the rain lets up, the ground is so saturated, trees can still be coming down.
The threat lingering. And we have some video from NODA, minor flooding on the roads there. This viewer sent us this video from 36th Street, and this is Wesley Avenue, and you can see just how easily that water ponds on the road there.
And we just got this video from Rock Hill, significant rain falling there. This is from our photographer, Adam. He's right outside his home taking this video, and of course we know when the rain starts, it just started to pour. We're going to send it over to Rachel Lemberg now with some more on social media. Unbelievable pictures and video that we're seeing online, Rach.
Yeah, we have dozens coming in, so I just threw in a couple new ones, and you just pointed out some video from Kannapolis. This is a different shot from Alex Shabbat, who is out there on the scene. This was the location where we confirmed a tornado that touched down, and he described that a 16-year-old was inside of this house whenever the storm hit. He ran to a closet with his cat as he heard the glass shattering. You can see the debris. Looks like you would be able to even see into the house from the top of the roof there. Trees down, debris all across the grass. We saw that other house. It looked like two separate separate houses that were definitely affected in the Kannapolis area. Take a look at this flooding now from Morganton. Scotty, thank you for sending this in. He says this is right at Bethel Park. It has been shut down now by the city and the Parks and Rec Department, but a lot of flash flooding in that area, major flooding right at that park that is closed right now. The Charlotte Knights also tweeted out a time lapse showing BB&T Ballpark and the transition from the weather that came through that area. Actually just saw that crane even moving too, which was something that we talked to Brad about a couple of minutes ago earlier in our coverage because viewers were a bit concerned about that. AJ sending us this flooding, it looks like outside of his home, creeping up under the foundation there of that house. Hopefully they're okay. Didn't detail exactly where that is located, but thank you for sending that. This is coming in from Weddington Road right near Winkler Middle. Take a look here. It looks like this is a tree. It looks like that may be into the house, guys, because I can see a lot of damage to the roof. It's kind of hard. It says Amy says that tornado hit our neighborhood and my tree is now inside of the neighbor's house. So hopefully everybody's okay, but that is severe damage in that area right off Weddington Road. We'll continue to follow the very latest. Also tweeted at Brad from Brian here right at Cameron Wood in his backyard. I mean, trees are down everywhere. I think that's the clear picture. Brad said there were dozens of trees down in his neighborhood. Look at how many trees are down in this neighborhood as well. So definitely, if you can safely send us the picture, just tag WCNC and we'll share it right here, guys. Send it back to you.
Okay, Rachel Lundberg, thank you. We want to check in now with our Savannah Levins, who is in Pineville, seeing damage to buildings down there. Savannah, what are you seeing?
Yeah, so we're in a kind of an industrial area right now. You see all these first responders out here. We've got Pineville Fire, Police, Medic, the fire marshals here. We're seeing lots of damage. Check this out. If we can pan Ken right here, you're seeing all this damage kind of on the ground there. Down in the foreground, you're seeing a stop sign was knocked over by wind. There's actually a railroad down there. I don't know if you can see it from here. We're kind of far, but as we were driving over that rail line, the entire rail arm had been blown off. You're also seeing down power lines here right over there. There's a tree that brought down a bit of that power line, and pan right over here, you've got a tree that was completely uprooted and fell onto this vehicle. Thankfully, no one was inside, but certainly not something anyone wants to be dealing with there. And then, Ken, if we can walk a little bit further down this way, obviously we're trying to stay out of the way of the first responders, but down the road a little bit there, another downed power line. In the foreground here, you're seeing the roots from that tree that came up, and just beyond, you're seeing police down there trying to figure out what's going on with the downed power lines back there where we couldn't even pass because they were crossing the road. Now, I just spoke to some of these first responders on scene. They're telling me that they believe that there was some sort of touchdown here, like right in this building area, and they're worried that more storms coming through are going to make all of this worse. They're saying some of the windows in these buildings were actually blown out as well. Obviously, we're trying to stay back out of their way as they're working to clean this up before more heavy rain and wind comes through, but we're definitely still seeing that deluge down here right now, guys.
Savannah Levins reporting. Thank you.
All right, now we're going to send it out to Alex Shabbat. He is in Kannapolis. We've been seeing his pictures and videos on Twitter. So, Alex, we're going to send it out to you. Looks like a lot of damage in that area.
That's right, Sarah. There's damage pretty much anywhere we look right now. There are 3 homes back to back to back at this point. All have damage. Those on that side mainly have shingles ripped off, but this one behind me right here has the worst of it. The entire roof has been ripped off. The homeowner told me water is rushing in, or has been coming in as the rain has been coming down. Also told me that his 16-year-old son was inside at the time. I talked to his son. He said he ran to a closet, shattering glass, so you can imagine how scary that was. Fortunately, he's okay, but I got a quick look inside the house and you can see shattered glass on the floor, and as we're walking you can just see there's debris all across the grass, plastic, there's different home materials, and the shingles here on the house have been ripped off. We've been seeing the family going in and out of the house just removing stuff because obviously there's a concern about water damage. I mean, like I said, everywhere you look there's damage. This tree, fairly good sized tree, just snapped in half right there. House over has a trampoline that was turned upside down. This is the inside of the house where I was mentioning that we've seen the family going in and out. I don't know if you can see how much chaos and debris is in there. But we're going to walk over there for a minute here, if you'll bear with us, and take a look at that. You see that on the floor, all that shattered glass. That is what the 16-year-old boy was seeing.
All right, I believe that was Alex Shabbat reporting. Of course, when you're out in the middle of all of this, we will have some technical difficulties. I couldn't even get a phone call out earlier when I was trying to call my mom to say made it to the station safely.
Yeah, I've been back and forth, texting back and forth with my nanny who is with my children in my home right now, and they're without power. They're without power right now, and I got a text from Duke Energy. They text you now, and they let you know when they might be able to get to the power outage, but I anticipate that those times will be pushed back as we learn of more power outages. They are going to be swamped because sometimes they have to disconnect a whole grid before they can get to a certain part of it.
They're out there working really hard. I have friends that have offices close to the WCNC building, and they're out of power as well. So let's send it over to Brad Panovich with the very latest. Brad.
Yeah, the heavy rain is becoming a big concern right now. We've got heavy rain moving across South Mecklenburg County into the panhandle of Lancaster County, into York and Chester County, and it's really not moving. Just checking some of the rainfall totals, we're now approaching 3.5 to 4 inches of rain since midnight. In some of these areas, we're probably going to see flash flood warnings issued any moment now for a big chunk of this area. This line extends back into the upstate of South Carolina. This line is pushing south and east at about 40-45 miles an hour. I say the individual storms because the line isn't moving, and it's always one of those weird things when the individual cells are moving this way, but the line or the train tracks that the individual cars are moving on isn't really budging. So if this is the train tracks, the cars are moving this way, but the whole train track is kind of stuck. So this heavy rain is going to continue for a while. We will continue to see that pushing off to the east, maybe northeast at around 25 miles per hour, but the whole line seems to be barely drifting. In fact, if I start looking to the southwest, I can see the new showers and thunderstorms producing tornado warnings in the upstate of South Carolina, northeast Georgia. Those are areas we're going to have to watch for where they go, because those could creep up towards Chester County, maybe even York County, and then eventually maybe all the way into South Mecklenburg County again. So those are all areas that we're watching very carefully for additional severe thunderstorm warnings or even tornado warnings. Right now, there are only flash flood warnings, and I say only because we've had such an active day. There are no severe thunderstorm warnings and no tornado warnings currently in effect for our area, but we have massive amounts of flood warnings, numerous flood warnings, almost easier to tell you which counties aren't under warnings right now. That would be basically anybody outside of the mountains and foothills. There are currently no tornado warnings or severe thunderstorm warnings or flood warnings, but look at the rainfall that we're seeing to our west. Some of these rainfall amounts, and I'm going to query them real quickly, just in the last 12 hours have been anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of rain. So you're talking about a lot of rain in a short period of time. These are 12-hour totals, not 24-hour. So 12-hour totals, and even around Mecklenburg County, we're starting to get around 2 to 3 inches of rain. So flooding is going to be our next concern, but I'm not going to leave my guard down for this stuff down to the southwest, which potentially could stream up this way, guys.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Brad. All right. Well, as Brad was saying, you know, the flooding and with that rain happening so quickly, those aren't even 24-hour totals. He said those were 12-hour totals. And on the way in, I saw a lot of water, standing water.
Oh, yeah.
And people just, you know, going the regular speed limit. And it's just dangerous, even now after the rain has stopped.
Yeah, when I came in, I was watching to try to figure out when was going to be a safe time for me to come into work. And Brad and Larry said, okay, there's a little lull over Charlotte right now. So I thought, well, this is my chance. But when I got to 77, I mean, it came down with such intensity, couldn't even see.
Sheets of rain.
Yeah, in front of you, people were stopped on 77 with their flashers. So I tried to pull over, and there were so many cars, the side of the ground was like muddy. I got stuck. I was like, oh my gosh, if I can't get this car out of the side of the road. So the ground is so saturated out there right now, and not a good place to be. As Brad and Larry have said, stay inside if you can. So right now, Vanessa Rufus joins us again. Vanessa, you're looking at all the video that's being sent to us right now.
That's right. And I'm just getting some information right now on all of these viewer pictures and video and just things we're seeing from different organizations and agencies around the the area. So we're going to start off with Carol Burgess and her backyard in northeast Charlotte. So she says that water is starting to come into her garage, and you can see it is totally flooded there. It looks like we're looking at her backyard and a little bit of her porch, and then so there you can see that water is creeping awfully close to her home. So we hope that everyone is staying safe. But yeah, we are certainly seeing those flooding impacts all across the area. From there, we're going to move on here. We've got some photos coming to us from the Lane Street area of Kannapolis. We've got some downed power lines, and this is going to be in front of Atrium Urgent Care. And I did just check in with the Duke Energy power outage map, and it looks like we're dealing with about 29,000 outages just in the Charlotte area. So we are seeing widespread impacts there. Charlotte Knights, meantime, tweeting out this time-lapse video. So this is from this afternoon, and then at one point you could see the screen goes almost black, kind of like a whiteout type effect. And I can attest to this because I was coming into work getting ready in the Uptown area, and for a portion of time as I was getting ready, I looked out the window and it was just blanket white outside, and that was just a severely reduced visibility we're seeing from all the heavy rain and then the really whipping winds through the Uptown area. So we'll just go ahead and remind you once again, we are gladly taking your videos and photos. We want to pass these out and show them on the air. Let everybody know what's going on in your neighborhood. Show us the areas to avoid. Just make sure that you're safe getting these pictures and video. And I'll be back in a little bit with another round of what we get. Guys, back to you.
All right, Vanessa, thank you. And I'm keeping in touch with my nanny.
Yeah.
Who's with my children at home, and she's.
Do you have power?
No power right now.
No power still.
No trees down in my yard, which is amazing because we have trees all over the place, and I'm sure there are some down in the neighborhood, but none in my yard.
Well, like Vanessa was saying, this is really a fast-moving storm, and all of a sudden, it's like a downpour in front of you. So Brad, what are you thinking on the timing of this? Is this going to move out quickly tonight, or is it going to hover?
Unfortunately,
hard to tell.
I mean, I can tell you the worst of the weather as far as the tornadoes and severe winds have at least abated for now. I don't think they're done. And the rain is certainly not done. The rainfall is just sitting over us. We've got what we call training, which if you think about train cars on a train track, individual train cars are like cells going over the same spot again and again, and that's what we're seeing. Some of the rainfall rates that we're starting to see are 1 to 2 inches per hour, and we know it's only going to take maybe 2.5, 3 inches over 6 hours to cause flash flooding. We've seen some pretty high totals here. Aisha Scott is in here with me as well, and Aisha was pulling up some of the numbers. Guys, if we could take weather 2 real quickly, she was able to pull up some numbers, just some last 12 hours, and just to read these off to you: Westport 3.17 inches, Davidson 2.89, Mount Holly about 2.5, and then Hopewell and the Matthews area over 2 inches. I was checking obviously my weather station at home for the wind speed from the tornado that struck, but I glanced down at the rainfall, and at my house 3.43 inches of rain so far today. So we have seen a lot of rainfall in a short period of time, and it's still raining out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to widen this view out here, and I'm going to flip over to our velocity data again just to see. I'm looking for rotation in these storms. I don't see any right now, but I do see a lot of wind. As I widen this out, what I'm going to do is try to do a storm track on the whole line. You can see that tornado warning way down near Greenwood. That's down in parts of South Carolina. We'll have to keep an eye on that. That's getting pretty close to being a threat for maybe Chester County down the road. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a very small storm track, because it's not moving much. This line right here is drifting in this direction, maybe about 20. So there's the timeline. As the line continues to push to the east, you're looking at Wingate at around 151, Chester 201, maybe Polkton 231, Wadesboro, Lancaster 3 to 330, and then down towards areas towards Stover around 345. So that line is continuing to push to the east. Now, we've seen extensive damage in and around the Pineville area, which then extends over to the Park Road, Johnston Road area, and our Savannah 11s is down in that area. I know that area quite well, and there is a lot of damage in that area. Savannah, what are you seeing right now?
Exactly that. A lot of damage. Right now we are in kind of an industrial park area where we're seeing trees down, power lines down, debris everywhere. We are taking our driving shot right now. Look, you're seeing all this debris in the roadway. I think, look, we're pulling over right now. You can see a tree on top of a vehicle. Now, I did check, no one was inside of that vehicle, thankfully, but people in these businesses, oh, look at this truck, if you can see that. Look, their whole side mirror came off there. But people were evacuating these businesses. Certainly a good thing. We had first responders out here, still out here, trying to get that power restored, trying to get people cleared out. Dead ahead, you're seeing a railroad track, and the arm that comes down was completely blown off. Look, I think you might be able to see it far in the distance. It's like on top of that railroad light right there. So of course right now, again, we're trying to stay out of everyone's way, but I think if we take a left down here, you'll be able to see more of just the debris. You see this stop sign right on my right, knocked down, trees knocked down, debris everywhere, people trying to get out. It's a little hectic with the people who did decide to come to work today, obviously trying now to get home and hunker down. You're seeing some localized flooding here on our right as well. And again, this is a place that we came to because we were at some down power lines maybe 30 minutes ago, and one of the firefighters on scene there said, you need to check out this industrial park. We believe there was a touchdown here. Check it out. Hey, Ken, slow down right here. There's a power line right in front of us. We just stopped. Again, we don't know if these lines are live or not, so keeping an eye on that and exactly why you do not want to be out driving. Thankfully, we can take the advice of the first responders here on scene, keeping an eye on things so you guys don't have to. But so far, that's what we're seeing. We're going to try to get to a safer spot right now, guys.
Okay, Savannah Levins reporting in Pineville. We want to check in now with our Rachel Lundberg, who's been tracking things on social media. I'm seeing things come into my feed as well. I know you're seeing a lot of interesting things.
Yeah, we've been getting tagged left and right by videos and pictures, so continue to send them in. And we have one thing been hearing is that schools have been obviously having their kids shelter. I saw this on Twitter. Don't know the origin of exactly where this was at, but they are saying this was in Charlotte at a middle school. So we do know that at some point from Lincoln to Union County schools, kids were ducking, covering, and protecting their head from when we were active in those warnings, which is what they needed to do, and the safest place for them to be too. Stairwells is where we saw a lot of employees as well going to. My cousin was at Bank of America. We heard Wells Fargo employees in the towers there in Uptown Charlotte running to the stairs to take cover too, flooding down trees. That's probably the most footage that I'm seeing us get tagged in over on social media. So Fort Mill, South Carolina, this is a flooding video. Thank you for sending that in, Jay West. We appreciate it. This is from inside, actually not too far from where I live, and it just looks nasty. This is right near, I believe this one was near the outlets. Yep, she said she basically lives across from the outlet mall. Tammy, thanks for sending this in. Hopefully you don't have much damage to your home. It just looks like it's really windy, obviously very low visibility, which is why you don't want to be out on the roads at all. One of our photographers and reporters, Mike Hansen, said this is in Lincoln Lane, Gastonia. A tree snapped on an SUV, and somebody's already out there with a chainsaw looking to remove pieces of it. Thankfully, that homeowner is not hurt. Hopefully, we'll hear more reports of no injuries after all of this damage. This was tweeted out by Huntersville Fire, showing a truck obviously just down an embankment there. You see, if you pan right over here to the right, you can see the fire department responded to this. They did say that they're going to leave it there for now just because they're busy, I'm sure, and there were no injuries reported to that, I do not believe. So they are going to leave that truck where it is kind of submersed. This was interesting. Saw a door blow off the hinges at a BJ's in Pineville. Hannah tweeting us that picture there and some of the weather and wind blowing in. Then this from Concord Police showing again flooded roads that you cannot be crossing through. It looks like that's right at Stuff Road, if I'm pronouncing that right, near the intersection of Roberta Road. Guys, I could talk probably for the next hour or so, all the videos of the damage that we've been seeing, from the downed trees to the flooding, power outages, kids sheltering, employees sheltering. I do know a lot of people have been thanking Larry and Brad, saying name a better duo, that they have been relaying the message of what's going on to everybody at their office spaces. So we'll continue to keep you posted.
All right, Rachel, thank you. And she showed us the pictures of the students and how they were, they've been preparing for it and how they've been kept safe. I've been keeping informed with an app And the teacher, you know, at the beginning of the school day said that they were gathering the kids up and putting them in a main building. And then, you know, right before or right as the storm was hitting, parents, please know that all children are safe. We have them inside the main building, and they're doing a great job about the kids in this time.
That is definitely what they prepare for.
The parents, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And Brad, I was telling you, I was just looking on my Twitter feed and how one of your neighbors that I actually interviewed for a previous story, I couldn't believe all the trees down behind him in your neighborhood. And if you go to WCNC.com, and I as well retweeted this video if you guys want to see it.
That's Andrew, the Swisacs. They live right behind us. And the video I got from my wife looking towards our backyard, which our backyards come up to each other. We had a wooded backyard. You couldn't see each other's houses. I can see everybody's houses.
Wow.
Because all the trees are leveled. And we're not talking little saplings. We're talking huge cedar trees, a lot of evergreen trees. There is a lot of tree damage all over that area. So that's around the Cameron Woods, South Mac, Park Road, Pineville area. Something went through there. James, our digital AP, is over there, and he was telling me, he goes, there clearly is a path here. Something went through here.
Yeah.
We don't know for sure if it was a tornado. I'm looking at my roof camera footage. I've been trying to pour through it. It got blown over, but it was still recording. I've never seen anything like it. It looks like it went through a washing machine.
Was Tammy home at the time?
Yes.
What did she do?
She was home. I texted her immediately. I even said on the air, I said, if you're watching, please get to your safe spot. Thankfully, our kids were at school. Nobody else was home. She got our dog and went into the closet and wrote it out there. And she said when she went outside, she could not believe the amount of damage.
Wow.
Yeah, and just the extensive tree damage is just all over. Now, hopefully, we didn't get any structural damage. I don't know what the house looks like or what other homes look like in the area, but when you have large trees falling like that, you always worry about smashing cars, smashing roofs, or breaking into any kind of structure out there. So please be careful out there. I know there's a lot of cleanup going on, a lot of chainsaws going out there. Watch out for down power lines as well. And the threat isn't completely gone yet. So let's go right to first one off the radar, because I want to show you we've got some new flood warnings being issued. This is a flash flood warning now, and a lot of your phones are probably going off when this went off. This is for Chester, Mecklenburg, Union, and York counties. This is a flash flood warning that's up until late tonight at 7 p.m. I say late because it's still only barely 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That flash flooding is for runoff that is continuing now. The thing I'm going to have to watch here is, you know, the tornado threat is diminished a little bit, but the fact that we're seeing so much rainfall right now has me concerned that we could see water rescues, flash flood emergency possibly issued, because it's not, this rainfall is not moving. We've seen up to 2 inches of rain just in the last couple of hours. A lot of creeks, including Briar Creek, McMullen Creek, Sugar Creek, are all rising very quickly, and they'll be above the Banksville very shortly. So if you live by any of those creeks, I need you to go ahead. And make sure you get to higher ground. If it's just your backyard that normally floods, you might want to start moving things away from the creek, because potentially we're going to have some flooding going on here shortly. And again, a lot of folks are out cleaning these messes up, but there's more rain coming in, so the potential is you're going to be stuck out and possibly some strong storms. And let me show you the radar real quickly, because I turned the lightning off earlier. We don't have as much lightning coming up from the southwest, but lightning is always something we fear as we're outside talking about trying to clean up. But look at this line. I'm just going to loop this a couple of times, and you can see how the movement of that line is pretty much sitting right on top of the I-85 corridor, with it not moving very quickly. This is going to continue to produce flash flooding in and around Union County, southern Mecklenburg, that panhandle of Lancaster County, Rock Hill, Fort Mill, TK, Chester, McConnells, all the way back into Union, South Carolina. So that line just sitting there, it's one rainfall rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour. We're possibly going to see flash flooding become a much bigger issue. Meteorologist Aisha Scott is in the weather center with me, and I don't know what the
I was looking at some of the cameras as well. So they have come up and
flowing their banks. But let me look at some of these rainfall totals, because the website that we're using, Brad, is the Mecklenburg County. 12 hours.
Wow.
Over 3 inches of rain in places like Westport, Davidson, over 2 3/4 of an inch of rain. Also, as we work our way a little bit farther down to the south, close to, say, Pineville. I know that's where the heaviest of the rain right now is still sitting over that area, but so far, just over 2 inches of rain in the past 12 hours. And again, because of the heavy rain that's still falling there, those numbers are going to continue to go up. Let's send it over to the anchors. I think you all have some info for us.
Thank you, Aisha. Yeah, our Vanessa Rufus is standing by in the newsroom with an update on what you're seeing. Vanessa?
Yeah, Fred and Sarah, we've been getting all of these videos from viewers, and we wanted to show you this newest one showing some floodwaters starting to fill up the roadways. We're told this one is out of the Matthews area. As you can see, this is going to be off of Sam Newell Road. So it looks like this driver has kind of come to at least a crawl at this point, or if not even a stop. Because there is some water that is now flooding there right across the roadway, and you can kind of see the origin of this it's going to be basically coming from the sides of the road, from both sides, and it's just this muddy mess that is creeping across the roadway. It looks like some of these vehicles are able to pass through, but we'll just remind you once again, turn around, don't drown. If you have any question about the depth of water on a roadway and you come upon it,
and the best thing to do, as she was saying, is just turn around, because you don't know how deep that water is, and it only takes a little bit. It's so strong, it can move a vehicle so easily.
And I feel like we say this every time we cover severe weather, but yet we have video of people driving through these roads thinking it's okay, and we can't tell you how many times, like, the road is not there, or, you know, you put the first responders in danger if something happens with you in your car and they've got to make a rescue now. So as Brad always says, turn around, don't drown, better safe than sorry, Brad.
Yeah, and today it takes on an added meaning because the roads have been washing out in some locations. You know, Brandon Golden was showing us a sinkhole up in the Unifor region, and we could see roads get washed out. This line has me concerned because of how heavy the rain is. I'm starting to see some thunderstorm activity within it, and the reason that's a concern is the rainfall rates increase as thunderstorms are what we call convection build up. You get very efficient rainfall rates. So in Rock Hill over towards areas in central York down into Chester and Union County, South Carolina, we're seeing rainfall rates that are approaching 2 to 3 inches per hour. Now I'm going to stop this and I'll show you those rainfall rates within this line. You could see some of these heavier amounts. Let me query these areas down here. That's 3 inches of rain per hour just to the north of Whitmire and south of Union. And these are moving into areas around McConnell's and York where we're getting 1 to 2.5 inches of rain per hour sweeping into that region. So the fact that we're seeing such heavy rain moving into those areas is definitely going to cause water to rise quickly. We've already got a flash flood warning until 7 o'clock tonight for this entire area. More counties will be added to this. Watch as I widen this out. Just look at the area of rain behind me. I'll turn the warnings off just for a second so we get a grasp of just the radar here. Look at the amount of moisture that is moving up to the northeast. Just rain shower after rain shower, storm after storm, training over the last 3 hours, the same locations. So flooding is quickly becoming our biggest concern after we transitioned from the tornado and severe weather threat, which isn't gone completely. Until we get to the evening, we're going to have that potential for flash flooding. Look at this line and all of the warnings that are in effect. I'm going to stop this and turn the radar off just to show you. Look at all those green polygons. Every single one of those is a flash flood warning, which is in effect. I mean, it's just a huge area being impacted by this. As we go down to the southwest, I'll widen this out. Look at that plume of moisture. It's essentially a fire hose of rainfall that is cranking up and pushing into the Charlotte area. So we are going to see the threat for heavy rain and flooding continue for the next several hours. I would love to tell you that this is coming to an end, but right now I don't see an immediate end to this. And what I'll do is I'll quickly show you our future cast just to give you an idea on what this could look like through the evening. So you can see the rainfall sitting over us. This is 6:30, this is 7:30, 8:30, 9 o'clock. 10 o'clock, this is 11 o'clock, and maybe after midnight we start to see it break down. So if you're looking for a time frame of when we could see a break in this, unfortunately it's not going to come for several hours. We're probably talking on the order of 8 hours.
What do you tell parents when they're trying to figure out when do I leave my house when's the best time for me? And I know it depends on what area you live in, but I know that a lot of parents are wondering, when do I leave my house to get my kid where it's the most safe time for me to do so?
Yeah, the safest time for you is pretty much, there's not an exact window. Right now, if I were to go, I would be prepared for this to take hours, not to be able to get there and get back in short order. Make sure you have a full tank. Make sure you're bringing water with you, snacks, because you might be stuck in that car for a while, because everybody's going to be trying to do this same thing. So Kris Mulcahy probably gives a good idea of what's going on out there. He's been in the Chevy Storm Tracker from the mountains to the foothills. And now, Kris, where are you currently?
We're trying to get off on exit 23, which I think is where it's pretty much near, right? 77 southbound off of Mount Holliesville, Huntersville Road.
Sounds like he's up at exit 23 on 77, which would be just south of the Birkdale Village area. So he's actually talking to our producer. That's what you heard him talking about. But he's on 77 North, which they're looking for damage up in the area around the Huntersville area, where one of many swirls today. One thing that I think is going to be interesting tomorrow is we're going to have to go out and survey some of this. I won't have to go far because I'll be able to survey my neighborhood. We're probably going to have a damage path there. We're going to have a damage path in Gaston and Cleveland County. We're going to have a damage path up in Huntersville to Kannapolis, to Concord, and maybe even into Rowan County. And those are from tornadoes. And then we'll have the damage from all the flooding.
Yeah. Widespread.
I know a lot of people too message me and say, are your reporters okay? Is Kris Mulcahy okay? But he's a meteorologist. We have equipment to track where they are. Talk about that just so our viewers know how we send our reporters out.
It sounds like when I tell them I used to storm chase, they think I'm crazy, first of all. Well, if you do it correctly and safely, you try to get behind the storm and put yourself in a location where you're not in danger, because actually being in the worst of the rain is not a great location to chase storms because you can't see anything. It's dangerous. It becomes problematic. So when we're chasing tornadoes, we usually are behind them. You should be chasing it. You should be following the storm. And what Kris is doing is he's looking at lightning data, he's looking at the rainfall data, and they're going to seek shelter. They don't want to get caught in this issue. My biggest concern for them out there tonight is going to be rainfall and flooded roadways, and that would be a concern we'd have to deal with throughout the evening.
All right, Brad, thank you. Now I think we're going to send it out to Alex Shabbat. He is in Kannapolis, and a lot of homes are damaged where you are, Alex.
That's right, Sarah. We're on Old Salisbury Concord Road, and there's 3 homes in a row that are damaged. The 2 to the side of me have just shingles ripped off the home and damage like that. This one got the worst. I want to give you a look at this glass door completely shattered. Look at this, it's on the ground here. A 16-year-old boy says he was inside the home at the time. He ran into a closet with his cat as he heard the glass shattering. So you can imagine how scary that was during this powerful storm. Take a look at how strong this storm is. A lot of debris just shoved into the side of the house here. Various debris, straw and leaves and all that. So you can imagine the storm there. And then if you step over here, I mean, you've just got trees down, you've got lawn chairs toppled over, you've got just various equipment. It's left the yard pretty much in chaos here. Inside there's water damage, and they're removing a lot of the things that are inside their home to save them from this water damage, because the top of the roof's ripped off and water is pouring in right now. But as we're walking, you can just see, I mean, everywhere you look, there's just damage. Wood on the ground, plastic on the ground, there's metal, pieces pretty much everywhere. And this is just a sample of what we've seen since we've been in Kannapolis. This is on Old Salisbury Concord Road. I'd say less than half a mile from here. There's more damage at a church, but as we're walking toward the front of the house, you're going to see more glass and more damage inside. If you see on the floor inside the house, there's glass across the floor, and just, you know, this is a sample of what we're seeing. The fact that someone was inside, you can think about how scary that was for the 16-year-old boy. His father rushed home, but he was able to make it out safely. He did the smart thing. He went to a closet. He went for shelter. He was worried about his cat, so he took his cat with him to shelter, and you know, fortunately they made it out okay. As I was mentioning a little bit, about a half a mile from here, we have some video. I don't know if that's up right now, but there is a large tree that came down on a church, and they had their playground also thrown and destroyed. So we've been here a couple hours, and in that time we've seen a significant amount of damage. I'd say the 3 homes, this one certainly got the worst of it, being that the roof is ripped off. a lot of shattered glass, and there was actually a person inside. But again, thankfully, he's okay.
Wow. I know the integrity of that home has been compromised, so please be safe as you're giving us insight into what happened there.
And it's so good that that 16-year-old knew what to do, like you said, Alex, because Brad was saying a lot of times he goes into these schools, the kids know exactly what to do at a school, but when they're asked, where should you go in your home? There's no plan. So, you know, kids, parents, make sure you just want to be better safe than sorry.
Yeah. Our Kris Mulcahy is out on the roads in our storm tracker. Kris, what are you seeing? First of all, tell us where you are and what you're seeing.
All right, so we had to do some maneuvering right here, but there's an active water rescue happening right now. We just arrived on the scene, so just bear with me as I'm going to be moving my camera around. So right in front of me, you can see it right there. We're on Mount Harleysville, Honeyville Road. We had to do some maneuvering to actually get to the overpass. So the overpass right now, as you're going to be looking over onto 77, as I'm going to be switching the camera around, active water rescue happening right there. So let me try to zoom in right now. Cars are actively going around, but the amount of rain that continues to fall across the area is just absolutely absurd, and we just have that fire hose of moisture that's aimed right at the Charlotte area. So it's going to be scenarios like these that you're going to continue to see as time goes on, just because we're not done with the rain. You're still going to have, at times, rain rates at over a quarter to a half inch per hour, so just really keep that in mind. So luckily, traffic is flowing around this accident. So this, if you put it into perspective, would be just north of 485, the northern part of the loop, and then also if you're heading southbound. So that's what you're looking at right there. To the right, we can't really see too much that is happening, but multiple crews are on scene. I started the morning around 3 o'clock, and we went up to Catawba County, to Caldwell County. That rain arrived there first. Now we're starting to see the heaviest rain rates move through Mecklenburg County, parts of Iredell County. It's only going to further some of the problems. So it's right around Rock Hill that we're seeing some of the heavier rain, and we're already starting to see some of those problems. So you really just got to keep that in mind. We're not done yet. I think that we're really replacing some of the severe weather with a different form of it. But if you look really closely, I think that's going to be the main issue. Some might have slid off the road. That's where a lot of us are directing our attention. That also is a true testament. Be careful, because as we're driving around, even when the rain is starting to lighten up a little bit, we're still having some heavier rain rates. The semis are splashing it up. And just a word to the wise, if we do have any flash flooding, it's a flash flood warning active for this area, for the Charlotte area. It takes 6 inches of fast-moving water to knock you down, and over 50% of casualties that come from flash flooding happen in vehicles. So I know as you keep on pounding at home, turn around, don't drown. We'll have more on this accident coming up.
All right, thank you. Go catch up with your photographer. It looks like you guys are close to the scene. We'll check in with you as you learn more. Thank you for your reporting. Be safe out there.
Right now, we're going to send it over to Rachel Lemberg. Rachel, you're just tracking what's coming in on social media.
Yeah, guys, I can show you. Right here, we have this picture that was just tweeted by Tracy of the Target and Matthews. Looks like where you would drop off your buggy or your cart. That has completely toppled over and thrown these carts all across the parking lot. Looks like some flooding in that parking lot as well. Look at this right here. This is video from Savannah 11th at Highland Creek right near Concord. Definitely flowing very quickly. Strong power in that water as it's moving down in the Concord area. This video from Daisy, it looks like, tagged Brad in it, showing just the difference in the elements that she's seeing at her house. It looks like a little bit of wind, rain. Look at this. It is hard to tell how high this flooding is, but all I know is that this is the top of what looks like trucks. So this was in the High Shoals area. Gaston County Scanner Radio tweeting out that video. Absolutely incredible flooding that we're seeing there. Cottle Creek, Harrisburg. Tony, thank you for sending us this video. Definitely looks like that water is rising. Thankfully, it's not passing over the bridge at that point, which we have seen in other areas. Really bad flooding right here. Don't know the exact location, but Turin sent us this video and tagged us. Thank you for doing so as well. Check out this flooding right at Beverly Crest Boulevard. That's what Raven is saying. It's at Providence and Beckmore as well, where they're tracking some flooding on the roads where you don't want to be driving. Another spot is right here, Lakedale Drive and Lake Wiley, South Carolina. A lot of debris, trees down in backyards all across the area. That one was coming from the Waxhaw area. Take a look at this. Cherryville, North Carolina, just tagged in this video of flooding. Looks like it's crossing over the road and just taking over this stretch of land there with a lot of debris. It looks like a power line up ahead there. Not sure if a tree is on top, but we're definitely concerned about that all across the area. Kannapolis is one spot where we've got a live reporter because of the tornado that touched down there. Several homes that are really damaged. This is one of a few photos that Nikki tweeted out of possible damage right off of Interstate 85 and Lane Street in Kannapolis. This is a sign, looks like a road sign that was completely knocked over from probably the strong winds that we are tracking in that area. Crews already getting out, trying to clear the trees and debris that is just covering streets and areas and neighborhoods. This one coming from Cameron Woods. Guys, I could really keep going, but there are just so many videos and pictures on social media of the damage all across our area. So this is not only a full day weather event, but it's going to be days after that of cleaning up this.
Yeah, all over the place, Rachel. And some of the videos she showed out of Matthews, in the Matthews area, was especially terrible. Let's check in now with our Tanya Mendes, who is in Matthews. Tanya, where are you and what are you seeing?
Yeah. So we're actually right off 485. We're on 51 right by the Target, and this road was actually totally flooded over just a few minutes ago. Literally, it looked like a lake across the road. The road is blocked off right now. They're not letting cars pass by because of how much flooding is happening on the road. And I want to show you why, because I actually watched a police officer wading in water up to his knees to get over to this storm drain. You know, we hear all the time about storm drains causing potential flooding roads, the importance of clearing them out. I watched him picking up handfuls and handfuls of this debris and chucking it here onto the sidewalk. And within a few moments of him clearing out all this debris, all this water that was covering this road, whoosh, started clearing out, made a major difference. But you hear all these sirens that are going by right now. I talked to one of these Matthews police officers who said they've just been rolling on calls for the last hour. They're getting reports of trees on homes, lots of power lines down. They're really struggling to keep up with all of this. Again, this road right here, we're right by the Target. You can see a lot of heavy traffic that's backing up as you're heading away from the highway. And again, right here, this entrance heading toward the highway is completely blocked off. Cars are being diverted into other directions right now. It's really just a mess over here. The good news, though, is that this road does appear to be clearing, so I'm hoping that in the next few minutes they're going to start allowing more traffic to come through. Again, you hear more of these sirens. There's a fire truck coming this way right now. Hang on just one second. I want to see what's happening. So obviously they're heading off to another call. This police officer that was here blocking 51 just moved his car, so it looks like momentarily they're going to open this road again. We're going to go to some of these reports that we're hearing and seeing about down power lines and trees onto homes and cars, and we'll bring you the latest updates as we have them. Reporting live in Matthews, I'm Tanya Mendes, WCNC Charlotte.
Thank you. Please be careful out there.
All right, now we're going to send it back out to Kris Mulcahy, who was live at that water rescue. Kris, what's the latest here? What are you hearing?
Well, I'm happy to say there's a happy ending here. Everyone is just fine. So
okay,
luckily the water was not rising quick enough. Luckily, the water was not rising quick enough, so everyone is okay. The registered owner of the car says that he is okay. So right now they are just removing the truck. They cannot be confirmed by police. Weather induced, however, likely it was because the amount of rain that's been coming down all day long. Car segment into a creek. He is fine, was able to get out just fine. So this is not at this moment. Instead, they are just getting the vehicle of the water. It's still going to be a pretty big backup as you're going to be heading southbound on 77 because everything is merging right here. Of course, but it's only one car at a time. So it's this time of the afternoon that traffic starts to get pretty bad. If you're heading southbound on 77, there's a big backup removing this vehicle. So keep that in mind. More heavy rain will continue to fall across the area as we have that flash flood warning until 7 o'clock. Drive safe, everyone. It's extremely slick, and we could still have some gusty winds heading into the evening. Reporting here in northern Mecklenburg County, I'm meteorologist Kris Mulcahy.
I want to talk to Matt Westover with Charlotte Fire Department. Matt, can you hear us?
Hear you.
Okay, yeah. So in every shot that we've seen over the past several minutes, we've seen a fire crew from Charlotte responding to something, and there seems to be a lot of activity. What are you guys seeing out there as you're responding?
So right now, all of the public safety partners are extremely busy responding to calls for service. You know, we have debris, power lines, trees that have been knocked down into the roadways. You know, and this complicates things as we're still responding to what our normal responses would be on a clear, sunny day. So up to this point, Charlotte-Mecklenburg Emergency Management's activated their EOC in response to the storms. We're getting the infrastructure set up because they are projecting that there's going to be severe weather that'll move back into the area this evening. So what we're trying to get out really to the folks that are out there is to stay off the roads and stay inside. You know, if you have to get on the roads, we want you to absolutely avoid power lines, debris, and any standing water that you might come upon.
So, Matt, just to reiterate this, you know, we want people to stay at home. Of course, some people have to go pick up their kids or whatnot. If a tree comes down, if a power line comes down, what do they do?
The biggest thing is if a power line comes down and traps them in a position in their car, the most important thing to do is to call 911, and that'll initiate the response for the fire department and for EMS to respond to that location. If you see a tree that's down and it's not creating a life-threatening issue, you know, we want everybody to call 311. So 311 can get the appropriate crews to go out there and help clear those roadways.
Okay, Matt Westover with Charlotte Fire. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're very busy, and we'll be tracking your activity as you guys respond to all of this going on right now. Thank you.
Now we're going to send it out to Larry Sprinkle on Billy Graham Parkway. You know, Larry, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this was the tree that came down when I was trying to drive into work.
Oh, no. I'm glad you made it okay, because this tree right here, this tree is about a 40 to 50 foot tall tree crashing down. Luckily for the folks on Billy Graham Parkway, it didn't actually land on the parkway. It's okay, but what we're seeing right here is what we're going to be seeing from now the next several days. Who knows how long, because loose soil, big older trees like this one, they come crashing down. One other thing I did observe out here is the amount of traffic on Billy Graham Parkway and the fact that people really aren't going that slow. If I saw this and I was coming towards it, I would definitely slow down, but it's a massive tree, a lot of flooding. We have almost like another little creek that's flowing through, so we're going to see the trees going down, crashing trees, lots and lots of heavy rain, and obviously folks are on the way home wherever they're going. They need to slow down. They're going like 55, 65 miles per hour. Not a safe place to be, not a safe time to be out. So I guess my next job is to clean this up because it's near the TV station, and that's part of my job. That's why I'm out here today. Back to you guys.
All right, you are a man working overtime. You've been in here for long hours, Larry. Thank you for your work today. We want to check in now with our chief meteorologist, Brad Panovich, standing by in the First Warn Storm Center. Brad?
Yeah, we're not done with this active weather. I'd love to tell you this stuff is gone, but we're starting to see the rain fill back in. In fact, we've got new warnings to pass along to you. The newest severe thunderstorm warning is for Chester County. This is until 3 o'clock tonight, or 3 o'clock this afternoon. That is for damaging straight line winds associated with that line moving through Chester County. And again, the flash flooding is a big issue as well. We've got flash flood warnings pretty much for every county where the rain is ongoing or has been through the area. So we will continue to see that rain continue to push off towards the east very slowly. That's the hard part about this. This line is just not moving that quickly. So as it continues to push off to the east, it is going to take forever to move through, and the rain is still really surging behind it. So even though the rain begins to let up a little bit, we're likely not going to see a lot of things taper off until later tonight. Now, one of the areas that was heavily damaged was actually in my neighborhood down in South Charlotte. I was tracking this live on the air and immediately could see where that circulation was going. Luckily, my family is okay. My kids were at school. My wife and my dog got in the shelter by watching us. But Savannah Levens is in our neighborhood. It's a Cameronwood neighborhood there in South Charlotte. And Savannah, I know there's a lot of trees down. My neighbors have been lighting up my phone. It looks like extensive tree damage in there.
Yeah, Brad, do you recognize the person walking up to our shot right now? Here's your wife. We're in your neighborhood. Definitely
Holy
lots
cow.
of damage here, as you can see. Yeah, that's right. There they are. They're walking around helping neighbors. Hey, guys. So you see right now we are on one of the streets in your neighborhood, Brad, where there are trees on this house right now, trees just littered everywhere. There are a lot of neighbors, your wife clearly included, walking around to help each other, make sure that everyone's okay. Some of these roads so closed off by down power lines and down trees that it doesn't appear that first responders are able to even get through these roads. So people definitely taking it upon themselves now that there's a bit of a lull in the wind and the rain to try and clear a lot of this debris out. Thankfully, I haven't heard of any injuries here, but look, just as we drive down this road, you're seeing even more trees down. Looks like none of these trees were immune to this crazy wind that blew through here. Obviously, we're checking in on people, making sure everyone's okay. Like I just mentioned, haven't heard any reports of any serious injuries, which is the good news. We saw earlier trees down on cars as well. Just a perfect example of why you want to hunker down and stay safe and not be on the roads, you guys. Just crazy images out of this neighborhood in South Charlotte.
Yeah, Savannah, was there any structural damage, or is it all because of trees falling on the homes?
I saw a few. Well, we were in Pineville earlier, Brad, and we saw in an industrial area with a lot of businesses that some windows were blown out. That appears to be from the wind gusts. Other than that, in the neighborhoods down here in South Charlotte, I'm not seeing a lot of structural damage from the winds. Maybe a few little roofing issues, but everything I'm seeing here so far appears to be from down trees and power lines.
Yeah, the extensive tree damage is pretty impressive. And from the videos I've been seeing, Mike, my roof camera got blown off. I saw the security footage from my old house. It's amazing how quickly the wind came in and then changed direction rapidly. The big story this evening, I think, is going to be more of these trees coming down, because as Savannah's shown you, a lot of these trees are hanging on other trees. Some of them are leaning. We're probably going to see additional trees fall down this evening as the rain continues and the wind begins to pick up. But we clearly had a rotation in this area, and this was likely a tornado in there. The Weather Service will have to confirm this tomorrow, but I can go back and look at about 5 different locations where we had circulation, a tornado warning, and then confirmed damage on the ground. Cleveland County, Gaston County, Mecklenburg County, Cabarrus County, Rowan County. So we've got numerous reports of damage with these areas. And James was over there as well. And Savannah, I don't know if you can still hear me. Does it look like there's a distinct path, or is the damage more widespread?
So far, what I'm seeing is it's pretty widespread. I'm not too familiar with the area, so as we're driving around, it appears to be everywhere, but it could be very well that it was a direct line. You're looking right now straight ahead of more trees down. I think you should be able to see that. Look, all these people walking around trying to figure. Yeah. I mean, it is just everywhere, all over the neighborhood. And I think, the homeowners we were talking to, looking at their own cameras and things like that, and in their experience, they were saying that it did appear to just kind of blow through in a line really quickly and leave all of this clearly in its wake. And you're seeing more people, again, start to come out and figure out what the situation with the damage is and how they can clear things out to best let first responders get in here and do their job.
Yeah, I'm just glad that it actually happened this time of day when most people hopefully weren't home. Most of the kids were at school, and there weren't a lot of people out and about. But that's extensive tree damage. I mean, those are some huge trees, some old growth trees in there as well. And again, if you're wondering where this area is, this is just off Park Road, not too far from South Meck High School, Johnston Road, and Park Road Extension down in that area. Looks like we got a lot of people sightseeing over there as well. I believe that's Vernon Drive. They might be cutting through. As Park Road must be shut down, so I guess they're taking Vernon to get through there. That's probably where all that traffic's coming from.
All right, so I don't know if you want to chime
Yeah,
in here,
there's a
but we
tree
just got
down
this
on the-
video from a viewer in Kannapolis, and you can see the dark clouds in the sky there. This is from, again, the city of Kannapolis saying the earlier threat that they had, that tornado touched down near the Lane Street and I-85 exit. There are no injuries reported, but some minimum property damage has occurred. And, you know, I'm not a meteorologist, so I don't know what to look for. But like when I was driving in,
that's the cloud you saw.
Yes, I feel like this is what the clouds looked like.
Yeah, the thing we look for is lowering in dark clouds that we call them scary looking clouds, SLCs for short. They're not the most dangerous ones. The ones we look for is the rotation horizontally. Up and down motion is pretty typical in most thunderstorms. But if you see a lowering and you see it rapidly rotating horizontally, then you know you've got some issues. Up and down motion, like you would see the clouds going up and some sinking, that happens in just about every thunderstorm. But when I look at that, that looks like a wall cloud to me, which is the precursor to a tornado. And it's in the right location where we had a spotter confirm a tornado touchdown in Kannapolis, and we had damage. So you start piecing all these pieces of evidence together, and you start realizing, yeah, this was a tornado. And this is what the Weather Service will do tomorrow. And what I'll do as a meteorologist, when I go assess this, you'll look at the radar data, you'll look at the pictures, and you'll look at the damage firsthand. And one of the things we look at, the reason I was really questioning Savannah was sometimes widespread damage looks devastating. That's actually less of a tornado signature, because tornadoes are small. They're only about maybe a half a football field wide, maybe 100 yards wide if some of the bigger ones. So it's going to be a narrow path of damage. Widespread damage over several areas is going to be a microburst or downburst. But based on what we're seeing so far, a lot of this looks like tornado damage. Now, I got to talk about the flooding threat, which continues out there tonight. You could see the flash flood warnings, but also new severe thunderstorm warnings for Chester County. And for the folks in Chester and in southern Lancaster County, these are areas that actually haven't seen a lot of rainfall today. So this is your first real batch of heavy rain. You might hear my computer go off in the background, because there are other tornado warnings in the Carolinas, one near Rocky Mountain, one now near Augusta, Georgia. So we're keeping an eye on those. But I will tell you that the tornado watch has been trimmed away a little bit. So what SPC, which is the Storm Prediction Center, and the National Weather Service is doing is, as we go through time, it looks like they're going to take away the tornado watch back to the west. And Aisha, you've got Weather 2 punched up here.
Yeah.
Can you guys take Weather 2 real quickly, Kris, there in the booth, just to show you? Yeah, okay, there's the tornado watch. And notice the counties back west of Charlotte have been removed. And these ones over Charlotte are still in effect till 5 o'clock, right, Aisha?
Yeah, they're in effect until 5. And something to note with that first line, and pretty much this is the same line, because it's been staying over the area. It hasn't moved all that much. But whenever you start to see rain, it will sort of stabilize the environment, if you will. So when you stabilize the environment, it's not quite as prime for more severe storms and more tornadoes. So that's just something to keep in mind. But still, we do have that tornado watch in effect until 5 o'clock this evening. So we're going to be watching it closely. And obviously the bigger threat, again, we're starting to see that tornado watch started to scale back a little bit. But the bigger threat certainly is the flooding as we go through the rest of this afternoon and into the evening hours. So the rain has certainly started to stabilize the environment a little bit. So the tornado watch box, you see those red boxes, these will continue to scale farther and farther to the east. But however, we will continue to deal with the heavy rain. So that's going to be the primary issue going forward, because Brad, and if you could agree here, I don't know if this is great to say, but the storms earlier kind of helped us out a little bit.
Yeah, and now it's really going to be about this, seeing the flash flood threat because of all the heavy rain. So the atmosphere is a little bit more stable now, but Aisha, this flood threat is going to be our next big issue that we're going to have to deal with. So it's good to see that the tornado threat's being whittled away. I was telling you earlier, I would give you the all clear for severe weather. We'll wait until that watch is canceled completely, and then we'll have the all clear from tornadoes and wind, and then it'll be a flood threat. So for folks looking to get out and maybe go pick people up or go run to the store, I would wait until that tornado watch is canceled before I would think about doing it. And you still need to be safe out there because the potential for flash flooding down trees is still going to exist, but at least the tornado threat will diminish. And as I'm talking, a new severe thunderstorm watch, or warning, excuse me, was just issued for parts of Chester, Lancaster and Kershaw counties till 3:15. So that's a severe thunderstorm warning that was just issued as well. So we're going to see these probably more severe thunderstorm warnings than tornado warnings, but we'll continue to see flash flooding becoming a big issue as well as we go into the evening hours. So severe thunderstorm warning now in effect for Chester until 3, a new one for parts of Lancaster County until 3:15 this afternoon. And this is for damaging straight line winds, which as we've seen today can bring down trees.
So do you think after 3 p.m. is kind of a good time as of now to go?
I would say I'd be safer after 3:30 or 4.
Okay.
I think I'd be a little more comfortable. And again, you still have to be very careful of trees and flooding, but the tornado and wind threat would at least diminish a little bit, that I would feel like it would be okay to get out and about. This was really our concern, that this line would stall and be around for the evening rush. And it's probably going to clip the beginning of the evening rush, but maybe we'll get lucky and it'll move far enough east that we can start getting people moved in and out of the city.
Okay, got it, Brad. Thank you.
Well, if you're just now joining us, we've been covering severe weather, tornado warnings and watches issued for our viewing area. We've got a team of reporters strategically placed in areas of damage that we've seen reports in. We've seen damage down in the Matthews area. We've seen damage in Kannapolis and other areas in our viewing area.
And of course, if it is safe to do so, take pictures, take video of the damage. You can tag us at WCNC on Twitter or email us, and we'll show those pictures, because it's unbelievable to see the wide range of damage all over our viewing area, from flooding to especially how quickly, Brad, the tornado just came in and out in some of these videos that we're seeing of damage from houses. It was just in and out before you could blink.
Yeah, we talked a lot about this later now when we were covering this at the line. Even though you weren't under a tornado warning, you almost needed to treat all the severe thunderstorm warnings like tornado warnings. And what I have on the screen right now are so far what we call LSR, the local storm reports, where we've had not confirmed but possible tornado touchdowns. You could see several reports in Gaston County. There's our report in southern Mecklenburg, and then notice all the reports coming out of the Concord, Kannapolis area. Now these won't be the only reports. These are just the preliminary. These will continue to fill in, but it kind of gives you an idea of all of the paths of severe storms that we've had today that at least possibly could have been tornadic. So as you look at the radar, it seems weird that we're talking about, hey, you know, the tornado warning and watches will be canceled here probably shortly, but the fact that we have so much rain just sitting right on top of us, this is going to cause some big time flooding issues for the remainder of the evening. I haven't even looked to see the airport how much they've had, but we're probably approaching a rainfall record for the day here in Charlotte with the amount of rainfall that we've seen in the Charlotte area. I'm going to turn the radar off just for a second so you can see just the number of warnings. Every one of those is a flood warning of some kind across our area, which is pretty much the entire viewing area. So we're looking at a huge area of flash flooding, which continues across the area. So I'm just looking at the airport to see how much rain. You know, we're approaching, it looks like at the airport, well over 2.5 inches of rain. And the daily rainfall record is probably going to be pretty close to that so far, and we're not done with the rainfall yet. Typically when we see, you know, anywhere from an inch or two in one day, you're typically breaking some kind of record value. So the record yesterday was 2 inches. The record today is probably going to be very close. So we're approaching record rainfall in Charlotte, and it's only 2:37 in the afternoon.
Wow, amazing. Well, we've got some incredible video to show you that's been coming into our newsroom during this time. Time-lapse video you're seeing right now from our camera atop the View building in Uptown. It shows the storm as it's making its way. That shelf cloud that you see, followed by a wall of rain, the powerful wind pushing down the camera.
And we have some video from NODA, minor flooding on the roads there. This viewer sent us this video from 36th Street and Wesley Avenue. You can just see the flooding there. And this was something Brad really talked about yesterday. People don't check the gutters here, and they get clogged with leaves, and then you get flooding like this.
And then another video from Rock Hill, significant rain falling there. This from our photographer, Adam Barbie, right outside of his home. Just as that rain is falling, the wind not picking up in that video, at least not at that point, but the water coming down.
Yeah, you can see it. All right, we got this video also of the flooding from a viewer in Highland Creek. Let's switch the video here. If we have it, you can see the flooding there, a little bit grainy, but man, now is this like a creek behind her house that has just flooded more? Or is this a road that turned into a river?
It's a creek. It's
okay.
A creek. Yeah,
okay.
This is what you worry about, because Brad had been forecasting. In his forecast, we've had an unusual amount of rain for this time of year. And, you know, the concern with this rain that we saw today is that we would see just that, because all of the lake levels were already at normal.
And we saw one earlier, too. She had a creek in her backyard, but it was so high, it was starting to come into her garage, she said. All right, we're going to send it out to Savannah Levins live for us. I believe she's still in Pineville. Savannah, tell us where you are and who you're with.
So we're in South Charlotte, Cameron Woods neighborhood, here with Peggy, Jessica, and who's this?
Everett.
And Peggy and Everett, you two were home while this storm blew through, and you can just see right behind you there in your backyard, this tree just uprooted. Peggy, what did you hear and see?
I got an alert on my phone, and then the kids were all calling me, telling me Brad said get inside. So we got in the bathroom inside and sat, and 20, 30 seconds, it was over.
Did you hear this tree come down?
Oh, we heard it. We heard everything. So it scared us to death. But we had a blanket and a pillow, and we covered up, and it went over.
And Jessica, you were at work at the time, and obviously hearing this, I mean, did you just rush home? Or?
Yeah, we got word uptown that stuff was coming down, and we hid out in the stairwells uptown, and then my husband alerted me that it actually came through the back of our neighborhood. And it's crazy, just the fact that it went down this way and it didn't touch our house. Our neighbor over here, like, she had three trees fall on her house, and it's just insane. You know, all of we rushed home. A friend of mine drove us to our car at the light rail, and then we drove home. All the cars were being kind of taken through our neighborhood, and we walked down our street because we had to park. We couldn't drive through it. And all the guys in our neighborhood are just being so sweet and like taking care of the trees that had fallen down on our road. And I mean, it's amazing, the neighbors that we have. Like, they're so sweet.
I saw so many people walking around, helping each other, making sure everyone's okay. I mean, look at my hands right now. Your husband just said, these are shingles I found. I don't know if they're from our roof or from someone else's. Put those down. But you said, Jessica, even your neighbor down here, you said a tree went through their kitchen or something?
Yeah, the house in the yellow, the tree uprooted and went through their kitchen. Like, their windows are shattered. I don't even know if they're home or if they know. Oh my gosh. It's so crazy. Like, everyone's okay. And thank God.
And as a mom, I mean, seeing this close call, the tree here, your baby right here.
Yeah, the tree went right through his playground. So, I don't know. I guess we'll be calling our insurance company.
Right. Shaken up, but glad to be okay, right? And everyone.
Everyone's okay.
All the neighbors you're aware of okay as well? Have you checked in?
Yeah, everybody that we've talked to is doing good. Like, thank God.
Oh, so glad you guys are okay. Obviously, you guys are seeing some of this damage behind me, Cameron Woods neighborhood. You mentioned listening to Brad's report. This is, of course, Brad's neighborhood. We checked in there, too. So much tree damage. You saw the tree there. You're seeing, I mean, just the massive size of these trees that were uprooted just goes to show how strong this rain and these winds were. We're going to continue to check in with people. There's traffic backed up right now. There are neighbors who are going out themselves to saw up these trees because first responders couldn't even get onto these roads to help these folks and to start clearing this stuff out. So guys, we're going to continue to check in with these folks, make sure everyone's okay, and we'll check in with you guys again in a few minutes.
Okay, Savannah reporting live in South Charlotte, and cute baby Everett trying trying to figure out what's going on out there.
So cute.
Yeah.
Real quick, we did have Kendall Morris at the airport earlier today. Flights were grounded about 15 minutes ago. Charlotte Douglas tweeted out, the airfield is now operational. Flights are landing and departing, but of course, please just check your flight just in case to see if it is still on go.
And Kendall Morris joining us now from Rock Hill. Kendall, what are you seeing down there?
Well, I've been driving through York County, and if you take a look behind me, this is really the scene that we are seeing here in Rock Hill. This was once a very large tree that has been uprooted, and it was across the roadway here. They still have it blocked in all directions. You can see crews out here. They're trying to get this massive tree cleaned up. We've got bulldozers, we've got chainsaws. They've got everyone out here. It is all hands on deck trying to remove this hazard from the roadway. Now, this tree, it didn't fall on any homes, but it did fall on 3 different cars. We've got a pickup truck that's damaged. We've got an SUV that's damaged here in the middle, and then we've got a car over here that also had its windshield damaged and some of its frame. And so this tree did a lot of damage for a lot of people's property here. Crews, they are actively working to try to clear up this hazard from the roadway so that people can get through and pass by. Now, we did just briefly talk to one of the owners of one of these cars. They say they just got this car a couple months ago, had taken out some insurance policies on it, so they are okay. Everyone in these homes nearby is okay at this point. But we are about to do an interview with that owner of that car. So we'll bring you the details coming up in just a few minutes. We'll send it back to you for now.
Kendall, pardon me if you've already mentioned this, but I know you're talking about damage there. Do you have any idea what the electricity situation is, power outages?
You know, Fred, we just got down to the Rock Hill area. I haven't had time to really check on that at this point, but that is going to be part of our reporting coming up. I was at the airport earlier, and now we're down in Rock Hill. So we've been covering this whole storm from county to county, from city to city, trying to see what the damage is, whether it's trees, whether it's power outages. So we'll make sure to bring you that coming up.
Okay, thank you. Kendall Morris reporting from Rock Hill. Right now, Vanessa Rufus joining us live in our newsroom. Vanessa, you were looking at all the video that's being sent in right now.
That's right, Fred. We continue to get a lot of pictures and video from around the area showing us some of the storm damage and really just a lot of flooding that we're seeing impacting our roadway. So we're going to go ahead and start off here with a viewer report of a damage to a home on Church Road. So we're going to go ahead and show you this out of Rockwell, North Carolina. And it looks like, from what I could see, most of this home is now without a roof. As you can see, that severe weather moved in through the area. Now, this next video we want to take you to involves a school bus that was driving through some of the flooding. This comes to us out of Iredell County, and it was posted to our First Warn Facebook page. And take a look at this. In fact, it looks like a lot of this water that we're seeing coming across the roadway is moving fairly quickly, and it looks like it's actually pretty deep. As you can see with that school bus driving there, it looks like it's going up to about the wheels. But that school bus apparently making it through, as are other vehicles through this area. We'll just remind you once again that officials are warning folks to turn around, don't drown. In fact, North Carolina Highway Patrol put out a tweet a little bit earlier today just reminding how a few inches of water can really be dangerous. 6 inches apparently of fast-moving water can carry away an adult. 12 inches, they say, of fast-moving water can carry away a small car. 18 to 24 inches of fast-moving water can carry away most large SUVs, vans, and trucks. So an important reminder, and a little bit of a scary video that we're seeing there with that school bus going through the flooded roadway. Finally, we've got York County Sheriff's Office tweeting out a video a few moments ago. This is showing us water rushing over the roadway pretty quickly. Look at that. That is amazing to see. This is Love Valley near Kings Mountain State Park, and South Carolina DOT apparently putting up a barricade to close the roadway. So looks like very few people are exempt from all the flooding and the roadway impacts around the area. So we'll keep taking your videos and pictures. As long as you're safely sending them, we will be very happy to pass them along to everyone else watching this broadcast right now. Back to you.
All right, Vanessa, thank you. That school bus video is just like infuriating to me as a parent.
It's precisely why they made their decision to keep kids in place. They didn't want to have them, moving and dismissing during that severe weather with the threat of flash flooding.
Like schools should be emphasizing this to school bus drivers not to do that, Brad, because I can't tell you in the past how many times you don't know if that road's underneath there or not. If a pothole became something much larger, that is putting children's lives in danger.
Yeah, I always tell people it's one thing when you're making decisions for yourself, but when you're making decisions for other people, you just can't take that chance. You just can't do that kind of stuff. And please don't do that. Don't even attempt it. The worst case scenario is you ruin your car. Or, I mean, the best case scenario, I should say, is you ruin your car. The worst case scenario is you could lose your life. So don't ever do that. If you're ever coming upon water, just turn around, don't drown. The rainfall is going to become increasingly our biggest issue tonight. Flash flooding continues to be a problem because we've already had 2 to 3 inches of rain widespread. It's still pouring cats and dogs out there. In fact, as I look at first warn Doppler radar, I just continue to see the heavy rain continue to flood into the area from the south and west, especially around York County, Chester County, southern Mecklenburg County into Union County. It's a little bit lighter to the north and west, but it's still coming down at a light to moderate pace, which means we're potentially going to have water rises continue for quite some time. The severe thunderstorm warning for Fairfield, Kershaw, and Lancaster County, that is up until 3:15 this afternoon. That threat will continue to be an issue as we go into the evening hours as the heavy rain races off to the north and east. Back towards the west, now there's less of a severe weather threat here, but here is where we have the leading edge of the rain. That's where the problem is. Back here, it's flooding rains that is the big issue. And again, we're starting to assess a lot of this damage. And Fred and Sarah, I know we've had damage in Gaston County, Mecklenburg County, but we're starting to see more and more of that damage come out of areas up in Cabarrus County near Kannapolis.
All right, and that's where we're going to send it to Alex Shabbat. He is live in Kannapolis for us. Alex, what's the latest where you are?
Well, Sarah, we've seen a lot of damage here off of Old Salisbury, Concord Road. Just within a half mile of here, we've seen damage at a church. 3 homes back to back all have damage. The 2 to the side of me have shingles that have been torn off the house. This house has the worst damage. If you look right above, the roof has been completely ripped off. Water is pouring in. I'm told a 16-year-old was inside the home at the time when the storm was coming. He ran into a closet and then he took the cat with him as well, and he heard the sound of shattering glass. Take a look at this. The glass has been blown off the door. Just a screen there, no glass. The glass is there on the floor if you could see it, and the door is right here. And to give you a sense of how powerful this storm was, take a look at this debris that's been thrown and jammed into the side of the house. Up and down, just thrown and jammed in there. And over there, a few steps down from here, I mean, there's just some decent sized trees and branches that are all ripped apart. There's chairs that have been toppled over, metal, plastic, I mean, and the rain keeps coming down too. As you can see, there's a puddling effect. As I was talking about with the church that is about a half a mile from here or less, there was a large tree that was ripped to the ground there. They also had their playground picked up and thrown into a wooded area. It's completely destroyed. So just in about a half a mile or less, we're seeing a lot of damage here. In this case, that 16-year-old boy who was smart and ran into the closet for shelter, he's okay. Their cat's okay. A lot of damage to the house, but the good news is everyone here is okay that we've talked to. We'll send it back to you.
And that is great news, considering some breaking news we have into our breaking news desk with Vanessa Rufus. Confirmed fatality we're hearing about, Vanessa?
Fred, we do have some sad news to report here. By our counts, this is going to be the first confirmed death here due to this severe weather. This is the information that we have. So this is out of York County, Pleasant Road. Apparently there was a crash a couple hours ago. It was reported around 12:15, and we're told that a tree fell on a car as it was driving down this roadway. The driver was injured. Apparently went to the hospital, later succumbed to their injuries. There were no other vehicles involved. Apparently the driver was seat belted. And I'm also getting a point of reference just a few moments ago. This is about 3 miles north of Fort Mill. So that's the information we have. We do have now 1 confirmed fatality due to the severe weather coming to us out of York County, and involves a tree that fell on a car. Of course, more information on that to come as we get it. Back to you.
Okay, Vanessa Rufus reporting from the breaking news desk in our newsroom. And this kind of puts into context this situation, as we were on our way here and we saw people pulled over, you saw all those cars pulled over on I-77. I had to pull over in a church parking lot.
Yeah, even as I drove in on Billy Graham, a tree came down. And Brad, Brad always talks about even when it lets up, the ground is so saturated that these trees can still come down. So really safety first. Let's send it out to our Savannah Levins. She has some more for us tonight with family. Savannah, who do you have with you?
Hey guys, so I'm in the Cameron Woods neighborhood. I'm with Anne Marie, and the news you guys just gave us of someone being killed because a tree fell on their cars hit us a little bit hard, right, Anne Marie? Because you were in your vehicle when trees started. Are you okay? You don't have to talk with us right now. Are you okay? Okay. You were in your vehicle when trees were coming down around you. Could you tell me what happened?
I was driving down the road and everything was very calm. They lifted the warning, and I was a mile from the house. I was just right outside the neighborhood, and I was coming home. And I texted my husband. I said, I'm on my way, and he said, hurry, it's bad. And so I got very close to turning into the neighborhood, and I saw the tornado coming. Yeah. Cars were stopping. It was crazy. I got around some cars and got into the neighborhood, and trees were falling all down around me, up and down, burning our main street. And I turned in on my street and saw all the trees down. And I was sitting in my car talking to my husband. And he's like, stay in the car, stay in the car. And I'm like, I can't. There's trees coming down everywhere. And I was right there. And I'm like, I'm coming. I have to come home. And so I got out of the car and I ran, and I made it. I'm safe.
And this is where your car was, so we can see all these trees that came down, and these were
just right there.
And I hate to put you through this interview. I'm glad we're talking. I can't imagine how scary that was for you. But for those at home, I mean, this is exactly why, right, Emery? This is exactly why we ask you not to be on the roads. Emery, I'm so glad that you're safe and okay. Please get back to shelter. I'm sorry to pull you over here during this time. I'm so glad you're okay. Your car's okay. Your home's okay. And as you mentioned, this neighborhood's a good neighborhood. You guys have people helping you.
My husband and all of our neighbors got out with their chainsaws. They've cleared this street. The whole street was, you see, it was covered. Yeah. It was covered. And we'll pull together and we'll be good.
Good. I'm so glad. Well, thank you so much. And guys, you can see again all these trees that came down, as Anne Marie just mentioned. Neighbors were out here clearing these out because first responders couldn't even get through here. So as soon as there was a lull in the rain, you had neighbors coming out of their houses with chainsaws to clear the way for the first responders to get through. But definitely the aftermath. I mean, you heard how shaken up Anne Marie was. Obviously, I mean, can you imagine being in your vehicle when the trees are coming down all around you? But again, hopefully, and as far as I know, no injuries reported here. That we have seen trees into houses, structural damage. I'm told that one of the houses behind this house right here, a tree went through their kitchen. Wow. Lots of people who say they were home at the time, they were listening to Brad, they hunkered down in bathrooms and closets, and they made it through. But the aftermath, guys, just heartbreaking right now.
Yeah, it is heartbreaking, and it's a reminder. We sound like a broken record, often telling folks that they should not get on these roads, that they should not leave if they don't have to. And this is why. Yeah. This is why.
And listening to her, it made me think of my drive-in. She said they said it was a lull. I'm okay to get out right now. And
you were mentioning that early as you were asking Brad, what he thought. And of course, he's always going to err on the side of caution. Right. And be honest and tell you, it's hard to make that call.
Totally. And so I thought, okay, this is my safe time, just like her, just like she said. Yeah. And like our meteorologists have been saying all along, that the downpour, the wind, it can happen just like that. And that's why it's better to just stay inside, Brad, right?
Yeah, in those situations, you're not at just the mercy of the weather. You're the mercy of other traffic and the road system. Exactly. And when I used to chase, I tell what's the hardest part about chasing storms? The tornado can go wherever it wants. You can only go where there's a road. So that's really problematic in these situations. When you're trying to get home and there's a traffic jam, that causes all kinds of issues. Now, there's still severe storms out there, but they're not tornadic right now. We've got a severe thunderstorm warning for Lancaster, Chester County. This is likely maybe going to be extended into Union and Anson County. There's a lot of cloud to ground lightning with that. And the reason that's important, that shows me that those storms are still intensifying from Monroe down towards Sun City area on 521, heading south towards Great Falls into Chester County. And then all the way down to Winnsboro. Now, the flash flood threat is continuing. My Twitter feed has gone from tree damage to flooded roadways and overflowing creeks and streams. That threat is going to continue for the next several hours as this line continues to push off to the east slowly but surely. We're starting to see more flash flood warnings issued. I'm going to zoom in closely and show you the flash flood warning for Mecklenburg County. That does continue until 7 p.m. tonight. So we're going to see flooding continue with all these creeks in the south side of town. We've seen 2 to 3 inches of rain right there where Savannah was. I've gotten about 3.5, 4 inches of rain since midnight. It's still pouring. That is likely going to cause a lot of creeks. McMullen Creek, McAlpine Creek, a Little Sugar Creek, McMullen Creek is going to be an issue. Briar Creek will be an issue. And then heading down to areas like 4 Mile Creek, a lot of those greenways are going to be completely impassable. And eventually a lot of backyards are going to start to flood as this pushes off to the east. We're still waiting for confirmation on a lot of these tornadoes, just based on the pictures, the videos, and what we've seen from some of the radar imagery. We're going to have tornadoes that have touched down. It's just a matter of how many and their intensity. The first question I'll get, what kind of EF scale are these going to be on? We don't know until we survey the damage. The EF scale is based on the damage that the tornado causes. That's a post-tornado assessment. So we'll go into these neighborhoods, look at the tree damage, structural damage, figure out how strong these winds were, and then assess whether this was an EF 0, 1, possibly EF2. Just looking at the radar data, I immediately thought of the EF2 tornado that touched down in Reedy Creek back in 2012, because that's what that signature looked like on radar today. And we saw 3 or 4 of those today, Larry and I working together.
Of course, if you follow Brad on social media, Twitter, Facebook, we know you will keep us posted on any updates as well as our WCNC app.
Thank you, Brad. And make sure you stay with... Okay.
Sorry, we're getting mixed messages in here. But of course, the important thing is turn around, don't drown.
Yeah.
You saw that video. We saw multiple cars and a school bus drive through water. And even though the storm has stopped, like Brad said, flooding is such a major issue. You do not know if that road is gone underneath you. So better safe than sorry. Don't try to do it. And don't think, right, Brad, even if it's not blocked around it, that doesn't mean it's safe to go through it.
Yeah, I would definitely just stay off the roads if you can. I know a lot of people got to pick people up at the end of the day here, get home from work. Don't make any side trips. Just get to where you're going, get there and stay. We've got so many trees down. All the videos and pictures we're seeing from our crews in the field, the roads are packed because they're impassable and there's a lot of detour.
All right, be sure to stay with WCNC Charlotte all day long. We'll have constant updates on our air online at WCNC.com, as well as our social media pages. We'll have more live team coverage beginning at 4 p.m. We'll see you then.